I've been feeling excited. There's this moment in tech is so there's so much going on right now, and it reminds me. Right.
Man,
There's so much going on right now.
so many questions pop up, and I get all
This
these.
reminds me of
There's a
when I
lot
was a
of
kid.
different.
This reminds me
Yo,
of
yes,
like
that's such a good
2011,
point, bro.
2012, like back when like iPhone releases were super cool. You know what I'm saying? Like when iPhone releases were super sick and like fucking MacBook Airs were like just coming out for the
It
first
literally
time
feels
ever.
like when I got
Like
my new iPhone, bro. It literally felt like when I got
yeah,
my iPhone for the first time.
yeah, like
Because it felt like that today. Because I bought ChatGPT Plus to use
you
GPT
bought it.
4.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I wanted to see how
and
it was like, and I used it, bro, and it was magnificent compared to GPT
really,
3, bro. It's
really.
actually insane. I mean, we could play around with it if you got prompts, but like,
Yeah, I
it's
might get it
it's
as
pretty.
well.
Yo, yeah, it's so fire, man. It's genuinely
Cause dude, I know
it's
that
genuinely fire.
like all of we're about to start spending so much money on Microsoft. Like Microsoft just came out with the open beta, the public beta for Microsoft Loop is out now, which I saw this a year ago first when they first showed a
What is
demo of it,
that?
and it's like Notion, except because it's made by Microsoft, they can basically integrate all of your like Excel spreadsheets and documents. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is killer as fuck
Wow.
um like even let's say if we don't work in like well, first of all, workplaces just work in Microsoft Suite. But even from like a functionality standpoint, like you can't do jack shit on like pure Notion tables. Like Excel is still the single most useful software ever invented. So
That's actually like
to be able to
one of the
integrate
things that I
that,
always think about in regards to.
right?
Actually, I'll let you finish. Let you finish.
Oh, I'm basically done. It's just that when I saw like when I first
Oh,
opened it
okay.
up, like it's actually kind of hilarious because it kind of reminded me of of writing software because I basically opened up a word editor online which could not do a single thing. Like it's just a word editor right now, but
Oh,
it
that's what
was
Loop
so
is right now?
exciting just to open it up because like bro, because I've been waiting for it for like a year, and like I always check whether it's open or not, and of course it really doesn't not work right now, but when it comes out, it's going to have that, and it'll have the AI integration, and like like for me, bro, like I've been into computers for forever, and it's like I don't do fucking Google Docs. Like I'm not about all that. You know what I'm saying?
No,
So,
absolutely, absolutely, bro.
so to have this, like, it's so sick. The one thing I'll say is that, like, again, like for me, that this is my little like internal bias is like I want things to be stored locally, and that's the one thing because this program Obsidian, where you can write quite a bit of notes, pretty similar to Notion, except it's all like stored locally. I wish that you could just link your I wish that you could do like basically like what Microsoft Loop is doing, except like in Notion, for example. I wish that you could link to um, file paths on your computer to just open up files directly, so that you can just use Notion as a as an interact. Like you just interact with Notion instead of your computer based software. But it's not really relevant, especially because people want to use this in the workplace, working with teams and stuff. And like this Microsoft stuff is freaking killer because like as you very well know and might start talking about, like I'm not going to interact with my computer anymore. I'm just going to interact with a chatbot now, which is crazy because the U.S. has been waiting for this for so long because obviously in China people have been doing stuff just by talking to WeChat for much longer now, but like it didn't really hit here. But now we're not talking about just buying stuff. Like I'm not like I don't really care. I really don't because this is the first time where I'm like, yo, if all of this Copilot stuff and chat stuff would like not be released on Mac, I would not. I would just get a Windows laptop,
Yeah,
which is a
that's how
crazy thing to
crazy it is.
say, which is generally a ridiculous thing to
That's a really
say.
good point.
That's how exciting this is. That's how freaking exciting this is. It's so sick. It's so fucking exciting to
Yo,
see all this shit happen.
it, it's actually insane,
Like this
man.
moment in tech
It's so crazy.
is insane.
And it's only the beginning, bro. Like the hype train starts now,
That's
but
right.
like I honestly don't think the wave is gonna stop. Like, people are gonna like think of it differently, but more and more there's gonna be better and better systems.
It's
And honestly, the scale outmatches everything, and again, the accessibility even further. But like, if you look at ChatGPT on a from a research standpoint, like it's really interesting. But in regards to like a lot of these things, there's a lot of speculation and critique to which it's capable of, and its extent. But at the end of the day, like its scale is so vast that it doesn't really need to have logical reasoning built into it, or rather, it's way too subjective to decide that there's a given function that decides logical reasoning. And what I mean by that is that like the common critique is saying like, oh, it doesn't have like it can't replace us because we got like brains and logical reasoning. But frankly, GPT is quite capable of inducing the alignment through human feedback. And so,
yeah.
it begs the question for me that it's like, well, does it really need to go that far for it to be exponentially useful in our applications? And then talking about for what you said on loop, this is what I wanted to say was when I think about like companies and building new things, and actually even like investment probably in the long term, I've always thought of it like this, where it's like I don't trust companies when I think a big company will will I don't even know if it's a fact of if they need it so much that they make it themselves, or that it's guaranteed that they make it themselves. And I think that's really important when you're making a company, because
What do you mean?
it's a risk, especially like look at Zapier, right? Like
Hmm.
Zapier, I mean, like Zapier just got a new competitor which it didn't have previously, which is now going to eventually be Microsoft Loop, which is pretty much the same thing as Zapier can accomplish. So, and that's really interesting, because these big conglomerates, once they see the certain wave, you gotta wonder if your product is good enough to compete and set the standard against these big tech companies. And TikTok did it really well. I
Yeah.
mean, like nothing is best at TikTok, but like a good
It's also a
example of
consumer
something that
product.
like
What do you mean?
it's not just a consumer product. Zapier has like business integrations
Sorry, we're
and
talking about. Sorry, we're talking
etc.
about. Sorry, I heard TikTok.
Oh, yeah, that's an interesting point. That is an interesting point. Um, but I mean, like more so like I mean, I don't even know what would be a good example of the latter, but I think like you see this all the time where monopolies adopt trends to try to catch up to the or try to catch the wave of the new I guess like product, etc.
That's
And
fine most of the
so
time
when
though,
I
because they have the power. They have the power to catch up and then
yes,
proceed.
they have the power to catch up, but it's like when you're talking about like making a sustainable business, I wonder, it's obviously different case to case, but I wonder whether or not this company, whether I'm making it or somebody else and I'm investing in it, if this company will be either acquired or demolished by the competition. That's the question I ask, because if
Yeah,
if
yeah,
the Zapier is being overcompeted, or like, if they're gonna try to do something, are they gonna die out, or is Microsoft gonna acquire them, or are they gonna outcompete
right,
Microsoft? No.
right.
But
Of
looking at
course.
companies like that, monopolies, especially in the AI sense, you gotta wonder when people are building these new startups, what's even the point? The point. Of course, you should make startups, but like it's like how different is their approach and their product, and in a creative sense that's unique to the startup, that a monopoly couldn't really integrate nor iterate to the same scale as them.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I'm trying to think of creating something like Algo, I gotta wonder like what's going to be an intrinsic thing that's going to separate me from these monopolies, because you have to be able to decide that, or you have to do it better than them. And in the case of something that has all the data, you really have to wonder like how are you going to be able to create a product that can overcomplicate. I mean, to overcompete them. But then again, that is overcomplicating it. I really think people should just focus on making products anyway. But yeah, I've been thinking so much today,
Yeah.
and like maybe for the past 2 days, about like specifically ChatGPT, but most of like the other waves and hype, the AI race. And a question that I've been asking myself a lot is like, is what we think about as something quote unquote capable of doing something for a human, or rather, is it like is a model even is a model have to acquire certain steps to even be something like a human? My question is like, are all of these preconceived notions false? And what I mean by that is, as I said before, like maybe there's no function for logic, maybe there's no function for reasoning, maybe there's no function for truth. It's just something that you have to continue to iterate on. And I do believe that there probably is something more or less like a function that can derive truth, where the variables are like the laws of physics, and then a bunch of other circumstances that you can integrate for a human, which is really easy. But in the case of a model, why would it even need to do that? Does it even need to at all? And the reason I say that is because ChatGPT doesn't have like exactly reasoning as you may call it in a human, but I mean, more or less, it can distinguish between right and wrong. And then when you tell it, "Oh, don't do that," I mean, sure, it's basically like pre-programming a answer to correct itself because it's trained to learn off of human feedback. But regardless, it's still changing its parameters enough so that it can improve its output. And in that sense, I question that maybe a lot of people are overcomplicating it. And with that same idea, it gives a chance of saying that the timeline is actually skewed far shorter than I predicted, which was 7 years for something that's super hyper capable than a human. And that's a very scary paradigm because I think honestly the next year, like literally next year, we're gonna have another big crazy change, and I think after that it won't be like it'll be smaller steps, but definitely next year I do feel like we're still coming up. It's like we're building up to something bigger, and that's a really scary thought. And so when it comes to
Hmm.
building these products or trying to prepare for them, or even just trying for the fun, try to like imagine how it's going to look like, I wonder what are the cases for these models to develop, and what are the tangible applications of these, and how are these people going to take over the world? Because inevitably they will. And whether it be Microsoft or Google or somebody else, I really do think that whoever has the leverage right now, or who's like stays their hand and maintains their power, is going to be a monopoly for a very very long time. So
Yeah.
I just wonder like what's the next step? Like, how do we imagine like how it's going to look like? What is it actually going to look like in 2 years, in 4 years, in 7 years?
Okay.
Like what are even the tools we're going to use? Because I think it's something in between something super utopian and something like seemingly useless. I think it's right in the middle where it's like it seems like nobody would really use it, but because of that, it's actually hella applicable to everything. Right now, we have something that automates writing, thinking, and scraping, so it can get written information fast. It can tell you about things, and then it can inform you on something. What we're missing there from that picture is, well, you could say something mundane as producing video and then doing the same thing for video, but more or less, the thing is with all these things, all these new applications, they're absolutely going to require a chatbot interface. That's the craziest thing. Most of these things, these new implementations and these new modalities will benefit far more on as a product if they had a chatbot interface. And maybe a visual interface may be better, but something doesn't really beat an explanatory AI interface. Like let's say I'm like my product is a marketplace. I could just ask my chatbot, where do I have to find this? And then it'll be able to have a complex reasoning where it can deduce all the actions for you to go find something. Maybe something that can integrate a chatbot like that would be a good API. I don't know. But it's stuff like that where it's like what's going to be pivotal to the next product? Like what's going to be necessary for this? It's interesting that they say like it's like the next mobile because it is. These products are going to require. It's like the next mobile, but for startups and for businesses and for software because you're gonna require chat interface for you to actually not even be competitive, but like it elevates the user experience so much so. And once more and more um, products begin to use it, you're gonna see more and more people demanding it because it's like a baseline for an app. It's like when your company doesn't have a website, they'll be like, what the fuck? Or when your company doesn't have an app version, when your website doesn't have an app version, they're like, what the fuck is why? Like, why would I even look this up when I could just download an app? So I really wanna be able to imagine like what's the next step. And
Yeah,
for a more
yeah,
specific question,
yeah. Before we get
how?
deeper, can you whip up an Instagram post because we have no viewers right now.
Oh, of course, perfect. Let's do it.
But you were saying,
But yeah, I'm trying to think of a specific question to ask in regards to doing this. So, you know, we have to ask ourselves, like, well, okay, what let's think about like I think maybe we should think about it as what do we want? What does a human provide to us as a service on a human to human basis that is still something that hasn't been made yet or still something that we need? Do you know what I mean? Like when
mm,
you're talking to when someone's providing a service to you, right? For example, like a customer service line, which is pretty much what we have right now, or somebody to explain something to you. Something that a human does in this case, when you have a human to human thing, they're basically just communicating to you, and that's really important. That's why these chatbots are super important because because they're able to essentially replace that need for that human to human interaction. Whereas instead of someone analyzing all the rules, you have something else analyze all the rules and explain it to you in an intuitive way. On
yeah,
the same token, what else does a product need, or what else does someone need when you're playing with someone? Like think of any scenario. Let's say I'm going up to a guy who's about to fix my car. Okay, and that's it. And I asked him to fix my car. Like
mm,
what are all the possible things to happen there? It could be like for me, the first thing is you could think of is like, okay, well, they're gonna ask you what's up, and then let's say you ask him, oh, what are you gonna do with my car? ChatGPT would be something where it actually analyzes what it's going to do to my car. Um, another, like another thing could be, you have something that memorizes all the dimensions in your car and can identify all the features and things that it's going to fix. That would be pretty cool. Um, and then you maybe have like what's something a human could do. Something that actually fixes your car, or provides the steps to fix your car. Maybe a chatbot could do that, but probably like an actual thing that's made to identify fixtures like that would be a better model. And then more so, then you actually have the robots themselves actually producing these things. So stuff like that. Like think about this
yeah,
scenario, and like let's say you're going to a doctor and a doctor is diagnosing you with something, or they're doing a checkup.
mm.
What are the things that a human is doing that a chatbot or something else needs to do so that we can fully automate that human? Like, what are the building blocks to create these these
Mm.
these high fidelity models?
I see.
So
Yeah,
think of that scenario. Let's say we're at a doctor and we're trying to get our like he's doing us a common checkup. What are the steps that the humans take, and then what is an AI counterpart to that, or something that just we need to identify as something that a human does
during the actual checkup or beforehand.
during the checkup? What do you mean beforehand?
Well, that would be
Like, what
like
does a
very
human do?
physical though. They wouldn't talk to you. It was not just about talking to you. It would be very physical. In general, they're just all they're doing is they're measuring certain things about you. Like they're not. It's not even trying to give you information. right? The information will come later once they go and process all the data, and they actually might already be processing that data, whether it's, even if it's just a basic equation. So they're really just trying to measure data about you, whether that's and also at the same time, often right away signaling whether it's within a threshold of being of no concern or within the threshold of concern. And then if it is within the threshold of concern, they'll look more into that. So, for example, is your heart rate at an acceptable pace? They'll look inside your ear again. Does that look fine? Um,
So in this case, it's like
how do
heavy
you breathe?
mechanical, like
Does
mechanical things. So this is like outlining just like mechanical things, like
you know what
diagnoses.
this?
Mhm.
I'll add, which is more so my take on this general subject, which is that it really comes down to where do where does this naturally fall into humans' lives and where does it not? And the interesting thing is that I think of this like dystopic movie where there is no doctor and a human just comes in and does all these things to a robot. Like the robot, like the screen will say, "Okay, now breathe into this tube," and then they'll breathe out into the tube, and then ding, okay, and then the screen will say, right, and that's like very dystopic. But at the same time, uh, obviously, there's extremely long wait lines and just in general poor access to these services right now. So this could actually be legitimately a place where um, if you have a clinic, which is very much like a virtual front with very little humans on the front of it, that could actually be a thing. And that could that as a business could potentially uh, be very successful in itself because if you think about these companies, like the references that I think about is like 23andMe, um, so Ancestry, all of these online services
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
go
yeah.
through your website and then you send in your data and then they'll process it and you'll basically be looking on it on a dashboard. Then now the extension of that, I guess, is actually a brick and mortar location for these companies. Except you still go in, you can't do it at home. You need to use some sort of mechanical tools or some sort of expensive equipment. However, it's it requires much less medical professionals to run. Do you get what I mean? It's I'm just saying
No,
that
yeah, absolutely.
more brick and mortar, less website, and you're not going directly to um, a kind of like I don't know how this stuff works, but I am like imagine like you're not going through like a government hospital or some sort of union. Like it's
Mhm.
a private company, and why are people going there? Because there's advantages such as lower wait times, it's cheaper, and of course on the back end, you're now building out data, which is very, very important. Like, we've all, I mean, at least myself, like I've thought a lot about the kind of ethics of like 23andMe. They're they're sequencing, they have access, they're basically storing your genome sequences, right? And that's a private company. So obviously you can see how that could be something very powerful, and it almost gives me like Theranos vibes, where it's like very very simple. You come in, you do your thing, and you're out. But like you can kind of envision that on the back end of that, it's like a huge corporation. So that's super interesting, actually.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get what you mean. It's like fast tracking data to these language models. You don't even need to outsource. Like it's not even about outsourcing like your medical processing and diagnoses to other clinics. It's just sending it, just collecting the data and sending it to the model, which is a really interesting
Well,
point. And I do
well,
think it
automation in at the very least, we're going to get automation either way in these clinics, just because it makes sense as a product. So that's again, like that's how I'm thinking
Mhm.
about it. Usually, is where is like there a value proposition for consumers in the first place. Now it's like these models will just obviously play into it, and then as you point out, you can play back the data, feed it back in.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it seems, as you said, pretty dystopic when you actually outline it, because it's like you're gonna have like these brick and mortar stops, which
But
are more or less supposed to be I guess like extensions of these data harvesters instead of like full clinics. The actual real estate required to have these things will be like 1% the cost and size of like
dude,
these big
doctors are
real estate
expensive. I
companies.
think about like a retail store. Oh, we want it's funny, right? Because again, it's there's always these different, factors in how valuable is a product to a consumer and where's the payoff. I think about like self-checkouts. Self-checkouts are annoying as fuck, and you save like $15. Going to the doctor's office, I mean, shit. First of all, it's like you don't even think about how convenient it is in the first place. A lot of time, I feel like. Also, a lot of people are super uncomfortable, especially if they're doctors of a different gender. And more importantly, people can't even get like a personal. People can't get like a family doctor. Like, there's huge wait times. Like, these are huge. Um, Unlike, in a self checkout at a fucking Loblaws or like at an H&M, where it's actually inconvenient. Maybe you just don't like social interaction, which is an increasing trend with our generation. But that's like probably one of the only points for it. Here, there's this huge list, as I just mentioned, with like pointing out the kind of being uncomfortable factor is a big one, and it depends how comfortable are humans with like a company that they trust, the data security, whatever, versus a human doctor. But then at the same time, it's like instead of saving, a minimum wage, a minimum wager, or a few minimum wages, you save basically the highest paid profession in society. You know what I'm saying? So that's huge savings because this is it. Because usually in brick and mortar, when I'm thinking like the cost of the real estate or the rent is the biggest factor. But as you pointed out, and the cost of the real estate here is super tiny, even on just like before you even put in the whole technological factor, at a clinic, the biggest cost is is the doctors, not the real estate. If you cut out the doctors, incredible savings, huge savings. And yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think about what's that company called? Like Invisalign, you know?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I don't know how
absolutely.
profitable they are, but
No, but like it's yeah, I know you're absolutely right. Like the scale and the what I imagine is that like the real estate, instead of being taken about by doctors' offices and file cabinets, it becomes like the fucking cake store in like in Bayshore and Rito, those like wall cake vending machines essentially.
yeah,
Instead of being like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
entire clinics, like real
Right,
estate in these brick and mortar stops are just gonna be big server rooms, or perhaps people who manage
right.
with the data,
And
instead of these entire clinics with doctors,
yeah, yeah,
staff,
yeah.
etc.
And again,
And
all of the solutions up to now, real quick, have been trying to sell to the current clinics, which is a huge issue because they have
Mm,
their own systems in place. But when you have another company, it's like when my clinic sets up beside Apple Tree Medical and we can push through 10 times the amount of patients per day, then it becomes their problem. And then we buy them.
exactly. You're right. Exactly, bro. Because people are too focused on trying
And Apple
trying
a day
to
keeps the robots away.
absolutely, and
You know
they're
what I'm
trying to.
saying?
No, but it's moreover like they're trying to these companies. I like your point where you're saying like they're trying to build like pretty much back end services for these things. For one, you're right. Like these things have their own things in place. Like when you mentioned Loop, I'm like I'm not moving from Notion. It would have to take like a really good change for me to do it, because right now Notion
Right.
works fine and I have everything there. And migrating to something has to be like actually a big point. And furthermore, these companies are
And the
focusing on
biggest hassles are
essentially
probably
competing.
banks and medical
Hmm,
organizations. Like those are the two biggest. Well, they will
absolutely.
like never move their
You're
systems.
right.
It's too risky.
Giant social systems. You're right. It's too risky and it's too costly to actually even try to migrate. And these companies are way too focused on competing with the infrastructure of of the company, rather than competing with the company itself. And what they should be focusing on is competing with the company, because at that point then you're actually going to be giving some profit. You can't eliminate your leverage like that. They're too focused on trying to give them something new instead of giving the
Yeah,
the user base actually new. When it
and we're
comes to
looking for
B2B,
when is there enough? When is there like enough leverage to start to compete with them, and maybe we found it. Because the thing about banks, I'm thinking about banks, right? It's like there really isn't anything in my mind right now that could actually make it really feasible or sensible for somebody to start a new bank, because we're already interacting with them on a technological basis, and they just continue to uh, like proceed like managing these software systems which were invented in like the 80s. However, with doctor's office, this is a huge difference in how it's done, and it's a huge actual problem. Nobody really has a problem with the inconvenience of banks. You know what I'm saying? But
I
yeah,
mean, you
continue.
would. I mean, like the case I could say for that is that maybe the people who would visit a Silicon Valley bank would like an actual bank, but
Um,
but you're right. You're right.
in
Like the thing is
outside
with the
North
bank
America,
is that you
actually,
have to
is
change.
like in third world countries is where, and that's why you hear
I
about
see. I
crypto in third
see.
world countries a lot
But
more.
even more so, like I think the bank issue is far more like an actual systematic economical issue rather than necessarily the actual companies
Right,
themselves. And
right,
so
right.
you're absolutely right. And even like onto other companies
Yeah,
when we're talking
yeah.
about
Onto other
like
companies.
having these.
Motive Hospital coming to a area near you soon.
I was literally thinking about that, like, bro, like we're actually have to be owning like every single division, bro. Like Microsoft hasn't
Well,
outreached enough.
well, hospitals
They don't have enough
are a big.
companies.
It's one of the big things, you know. Yeah, like banks, like those are the
No, they
your
are.
city, brought to you by Motive. Your house brought to you by Motive.
Yeah, bro. Yo, Motive Construction, Motivopolis. That's gonna be crazy, bro.
Crazy, bro.
City, bro.
Construction.
Motive Planet.
Um, yo, the hospital. Sorry, what was the last thing you said?
Motivopolis. Motive City.
Motive. Yes.
Motive Planet.
It's again, it's not about creating the city. It's kind of like how I talked about overtaking TikTok. It's not about creating the city. It's just that so much shit in your city is run
No.
by it that effective. Okay, the hospital one
Exactly.
is, or
It's
not
like
the hospital, but
when
like the
our
clinic one
mining
is
robots,
super interesting.
what?
And we the clinic one is super interesting. That would be
Hmm.
like one of those ridiculous ass like Silicon Valley, like that would be a ridiculous project. I think we went pretty far there. But what else? Um, I'll say right away, like
Oh,
I
another
think
thing.
like
I mean, like,
because
there's a lot of things you could think about it. Like just think about like things that have like data intensive, or
right,
or
right,
things
right,
that require humans to harvest this data. That's
right.
where I think you find the point where we're going to see AI take over in these scenes. But I'm a lot more interested in like where do we not see that they're going to take over, because that in those cases that provides interesting business opportunities, because I mean I feel like everybody identifies that the medical is going to be changing it, and I mean like
That's right.
I just wonder like what are we not seeing? What are we missing? Because like I would have never predicted that when like when I was like fucking like 12, like when I heard of AI and seen it in movies, I was thinking like I did not think chatbots would be the first thing to come up. I don't think anybody did. I don't think anybody would have assumed that a language model was going to be the first thing to
No.
appear. Um, like I actually envisioned automation to be the first thing, and then it would
Yeah,
progress to more
self-driving,
intelligent things.
and that's right, and that's a trend for everybody. Pretty much everybody assumed that it would be factory workers out of jobs before knowledge workers. I mean,
Mhm.
self-driving cars have been around since like 2009, so there's that.
But like the self-driving cars were never like largely applicable, and
That's
that's
right.
the thing. Like
That's right.
I thought it'd be the
Yeah.
self-driving cars, and then the self-driving cars themselves would be able to speak to me eventually, and then that's when it would happen. I thought
Right. Because it.
the vehicles would be able to,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
turns
So
out hardware is actually a lot harder to scale. So
continuing
and
to think about this knowledge stuff. I mean, um, obviously creation is just has been on this linear, but where does I still there still might be an opportunity for a killer program to come out like Figma just for these individual things, like like video editing, music production,
mm,
right? Like where's the Figma XAI version? of that, and also just Figma XAI of Figma, aka Photoshop. So yeah, the Figma XAIs for every single front of digital creation. I mean, like you should really. And the thing is, it's funny because I was thinking about like I used to think a lot about how it's like I can like hear a song in my head, but like I'm clueless as to actually how to create it, right? And then
Mm,
and I'm like, yeah, like this would require like a brain computer interface, and well, not necessarily, right? You go into
yeah.
like for if I think about it from the visual art standpoint, it's like instead of just obviously like right away how sick it is if when you whip up your dolly image, because right now we're all whipping up dolly images and then putting them into Photoshop to try to like cut out the parts, right? I mean, first of all, right away we need all of those to be individual vectors that you can play around with, and then of course it should be super. The point is just like much more sophisticated, but also Figma XAI for every single front of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And yo, again, this is gonna be this could genuinely be huge because think about Figma's overtake. It really is a great. That's why we love it so much because it's from a business standpoint. 'Cause it's a great case study for how to overtake creative production because only the top only it's no longer about legacy. It's just about sophistication. Only the most sophisticated like graphics creators are still using Photoshop. And oh, bro, I think was it Chamath that said this? This shit really hit. This shit hit so hard, which is that I think Chamath said this. It was so sick. He was talking about how some study was saying that most people who use these huge softwares are only know how to use 10% of them. Even the biggest
Mm,
professionals only know how to use 10% of them. So it's not about you can get the logo for cheaper. You can just totally use it because, and the thing is, it's in a somewhat of sense, it's sad. Like somebody put all this effort into creating Photoshop. Like, bro, there's got to be like, if you multiply it over by each column, there's got to be like over like a million different functionalities you could do in Photoshop, right? Which I really need my freaking chatbot to figure that shit out. And then, so it's like, again, like I'm thinking about, and this is a huge opportunity because if I think about like, music production, I mean, shit, we might have to get Dushan on here, but it's like, if you think about like the kind of big four or five digital audio interfaces, right? They might have like little AI integrations here and there, or they're like they're plugins, right? So you'll like add that in, but it's like again, like this, just like with the clinics, this is for the first time potentially truly an opportunity for some extremely well engineered, um, well like product market fitted dot to come in and actually come and compete with these, not just on a trend of like more individual music producers. No, like it's legit because it's so freaking useful. So
mm-hmm.
you and this is again a place where it's like it's not just a chat bot. It does require some tuning potentially. I mean, at the very least, I want to be able to like. I think that there's probably some advantages to having a digital interface rather than solely a chatbot for creating music is or with visual art. And this is where I think that using the APIs, um, you can have an advantage despite the fact that there's these huge language models, which there's no point in competing with them. It's the places where it's not optimized to just be chatting or like just have like a plugin as well. Like it's the places where it is really good to have your own digital program for as long as possible. Like for example, you want the brick and
Mm-hmm.
mortar with the clinics. You want
Yeah,
a
yeah.
kind of visual interface with Figma.
No, absolutely. Like this the what we observe, I think in these the level of sophistication with these things is that the gap between overall intuitive real life interaction is translated into these products. And just like we see in Figma, these very intuitive ways that it works and meanders through it, and also the incredible capabilities that even Photoshop have in Blender and all these really advanced programs,
Right.
which do still have some of these values. They get compressed and their features are maintained while also becoming more and more intuitive in their sophistication. And I think more and more we're going to see. these products become more and more sophisticated and compressing all of these features and becoming a lot more accessible to these users. And that's why these quote unquote professionals and the experts are dying out. And I think that's an important trend to acknowledge because, I mean, for a good example, like, I mean, we see that, like, essay writers have been pretty much like ousted. I would say they've been
Yeah,
ousted
it's
for like quite
unrequired.
some time. Yeah, it's
I
unrequired, and I
mean,
think it's been unrequired
copywriting
for quite some
has been a
time.
gig has been because there's gig economy first of all, right? So I mean,
Exactly, exactly, and that's it.
nobody's hiring you internally unless it's like a huge
Exactly, and that's the
company,
point, right? Like
you know.
gig economy existed before ChatGPT, and that ChatGPT put the gig workers for essay writing out. Moreover, experts in animation, they get out automated. People who did 2D animation, they got outed because
Yeah,
now these big, larger
I think that's simply
3D
just
companies get automated.
a squeeze upwards, as in like this is how I thought about because I was talking to my sister about it, and what I said is I think that they'll you know for a very long time there'll just always have to be somebody at the top, a manager, to check it off, right? So in terms of like a hierarchy, it's like just a squeeze to the top because
Mhm.
whatever the discipline is for like a very very long time on the ladder, it's like the person is like
You're
who
right. You're
checks off
right.
on it is not necessarily like a business manager. Like they like it's like okay, if we look at like a programmer, like it's a technical manager, right? A software development manager who checks on it
Mhm.
off. Because the thing is, in terms of actually the functionality, I don't think it's necessarily right to say like that there's any single, no matter how advanced um, tool in Photoshop that the AI would not know how to use. However, maybe you just don't know how to interact with it, so you would have to appeal to the top.
Exactly, and that's
However,
the point. That's the point.
for me,
That's the
it's
squeeze.
you can get into that, but for me, really all it is just how far are you up the ladder to check off until the owner says we don't need you anymore.
And what it is, it's the culling of those levels. And we even observe it in real time with the efficiency scale for businesses and Twitter. And I think like these startup companies and even Elon Musk and Facebook, they're cutting these people off. And I think it could also be
Yo,
a
this is
factor that
hilarious
single
because
managers
they
and more people can produce 10x output than they used to 10 years
that's
ago.
actually
So all
hilarious
these white
because
collar jobs who have been working for so
yeah,
long, we just didn't need them anymore because we've just upscaled our
do
product. So
do you
people said
remember
like,
when
"Oh, it's
we
just because we mishired people." I don't think we actually mishired people. Let me finish for a second. I'll let you
sure
go.
yeah
But I don't think we actually just mishired. I think frankly, we just realized we could output more things and we actually were able to produce more output per single unit of consciousness. And so, like I
mm,
don't think Google is an idiot. There's no way we're just hiring all these different levels of management because we didn't need to or they had money to spare. I
that's true.
I, I
It's a
feel
stretch.
like it's probably more
It's
so
a
the case.
stretch. It's a stretch to say that.
It is a stretch, right? Like what? They're just wasting money. Like no company would in the right mind do that. It's probably just because they realized they probably could output more with more people. I mean, with less people. And so we're gonna observe the culling of these middle sections,
Mm, that's fair.
almost to the point where the basic minimum, like we're actually observing that the base minimum, the people who do the legwork, are gonna be cut off completely. And that's the fear for the white collar people. And then these management jobs are going to be taken over by better decision models, and then more and more models that can actually take all the information. We'll be able to manage these legworking models, and or maybe even these models will be able to do the legwork itself to the point where we get it to the top. Where like I see in the short term, the edge case for these people will be the end of the people who are giving the main man, the main decision maker, the knowledge, the consultants, the scientific experts, the lead engineers, the lead tech scientists, the top research manager. When those people, and eventually they will, when they get cut off, as in we have empowered the main person, the CEO, the decision maker, with enough knowledge, or rather enough accessibility to the knowledge, and their ability to understand how all these different models work with each other. Once we make something to that scale, at that point, then we have no need for experts. At that point, the individual is absolutely empowered to make products and businesses 10x the scale all on their own. And I think we're about to see that, where people who actually can truly leverage the AI, and so that they can learn about how these systems work, and they can learn and they have enough general information to where they can pretty much infer how to actually make these decisions. I think that's to where we're trying to develop towards. We're trying to develop
Yeah.
better decision making models, and then better models that can actually empower decision making in the short term. So, that's pretty terrifying. But I
Yeah,
think that's
ironic
where
that you see
we're going to.
consulting agencies, the big consulting agencies, releasing articles about or press statements about how they are now going to consult companies on how to implement um, AI, right? Because
Hmm.
they need to have some sort of function here, right? It's, oh, we'll help you with this. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Ironically, as well, even though they're the ones saying that, they're probably going to be like the last stragglers of people. Like they're probably going to be the last stragglers of companies before like upper management becomes taken over. And the reason I say that, well, like that are like big
Why do you say
tech
that?
firms, but it's like specialized people will be the ones that are going to be valued at the top because
Hmm.
like it won't be like consulting firms. It will be like software engineering firms or literally like science labs, research firms, R&D departments where the experts at those fields at tippity top, they're going to be just teaching the first person how to actually make the decisions. And that's what it's been since forever. But instead of like needing these managers to actually relay the information, it's going to be just a like literally a guy sitting in front of like three computer monitors where
Yeah,
it's
right.
like
That's
this
the.
is my hardware guy, this is my business
Hmm.
guy, this is my tech guy, and I'm gonna pull up like my notes and be like, okay, today I need to I need to integrate fucking phosphodiester calicase, Jason calicanase into my drugs. Let me ask my big pharma bot so he can help me. Hardware. I need you to mass
Yeah.
produce all of these enzymes. Okay, boom. All right. I need you to do all this. Boom. And then business, I need you to market all this. Boom. And they're off to the races. And the actual difference, as we said before, the ability to do that will be based on for one, intuitiveness of these softwares, and the interpretability of the interface, then the compressibility of the features, whereas we can access a bunch of more features
Mm.
with less and less prompts and activations. So you can like access more action with less prompting and less specificity with it. And then it's going to be just the ability to understand and have knowledge towards what you're actually trying to produce. Because like if I didn't know anything about programming and I said build me a model, which is what I did today, build like I was testing it out on GPT-4. I was like build me a model. It was shit, but like it was pretty good boilerplate code. And in that sense, it's like if I wasn't a programmer, I wouldn't be able to fix that. But the thing that they're going to progress towards is, for one, they won't need a programmer to actually understand that, or two, that they're able to inform the main guy to be at
That's
least a little
right.
bit knowledgeable so that they can
Right.
correct the
But the thing
mistakes.
is, they don't even have to be just a little bit knowledgeable. Because, again, like, it's just about cutting off the ladder. It doesn't
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
programmer, person who knows nothing about programmer. It goes junior programmer. Like, up until, like, you get to, like, a super high level manager, people know a shit ton about programming. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the technical manager and the implementer still talk in language that I don't understand. So this is why when I was actually more excited when I saw um, the examples with GPT-4 being done in technical language. Obviously, they did that because they want to show programmers that they're not out of a job because, you know, mortals don't understand this. But to me, that was actually quite exciting because it shows that it doesn't feel like super like, wishy-washy, oh, everybody can do this, start a Shopify store. Like, no, no, no. You have a huge enterprise with managers who actually know how technical shit works because they actually went to school and like they have true skills, right? They can interact with this and make shit work. However, you can't just have like your everyday Joe do it. Of course, at some point you'll get there, but at the same time, it's not really that relevant to
Absolutely.
get there because at some point, to me, at least in my head, and this is something that I want to get to, is that it's not even necessarily about a huge squeeze of the finances because obviously probably like the bulk of a lot of time in a lot of companies probably the bulk of the salaries go to the people who are at the highest level. But the thing is, it's about the efficiency. you know if I can get a PowerPoint done in 1 minute, versus an hour, and the PowerPoint is pristine and follows and is very consistent with our typical theme, like that's much better. So
Mhm.
with that in mind, um, yeah, I mean personally, bro, like I'm super excited about getting
Yeah.
efficiency on these first levels, and like that's why, like
No,
in my
you're
head, it's
right.
like
You're right.
this is like when I was talking to my sister, I was talking about like basically what I was implying is like at least my kind of theory for getting some sort of security is if you're a knowledge worker, you have to shoot up to the at the top of your field because you're basically just like fighting the race, right? Because you don't if you own it, you're fine. Because like for example, the government, right? I'm like, can you imagine like a senator being like, okay, look at this, an AI can do my job. Let me go fire myself. It doesn't
Mhm.
make any sense, right? But if you're a knowledge
Yeah, of
worker,
course, of course.
it's almost like you're kind of fighting this, right? That's why I kind of stopped doing computer science because I was like, even before all this was like super on my conscious, I just realized I'm probably not going to be the best in my field, and I use the kind of Google versus brick and mortar analogy.
That's super valuable. That's super interesting distinction to make. And the reason I say this is because like as well as you talking about money, like the dispersion of money, the thing is I think we're actually going to be in a wealth abundance with these new models and these new investments portfolios because let's say I'm a company and I'm like I only need like 5 employees in total. I need a science
That's
guy,
right.
I
That's
need
right.
I need a tech guy, whatever. And then I'm gonna probably get the same amount of investment in the short term because the VCs won't realize it. They'll give me $30 billion that I won't need, and I'll be so much more empowered to do scale at incredible points to which I don't
That's
even
true.
like
This is why this is
I'll be
super
so
exciting for
safe.
startups.
I'll be able to advance in that. But more so,
I might even
as you
pay them more.
said,
I might even pay them more. I might even want to hire. This is great at too
eh,
because the thing is, it's
right.
just a matter of again the efficiency is so sick when it's like right now like I have to pay junior level programmers 150. That's fucking annoying and benefits. It's like 200, right? Per junior. That's so annoying, right? Like it kind of eats away at what you could be paying the people who are actually driving change in your company and pushing it forward rather than doers, Because the thing is,
Absolutely, absolutely.
people are pretty shit at making PowerPoints in the first place because nobody wants to do it. But then you still have to pay them, and you know what I'm saying. So it's like you can pay your
Mhm.
top people more, and it's so
Absolutely.
sick for startups. And
And they'll be
this
more
will truly be
empowered
the
to do
test of it.
things. There's more scale. There's more efficiency, and they'll be so much more like capable of doing these things at scale. And it's not even going to be like you added more money to the pile. It's just that we don't need all that money to necessarily pay all these different bills. We'll be fine and free. And onto your point,
It
as
doesn't
you're
matter
talking
that
about
Silicon Valley Bank collapsed because we don't have any payroll anyways.
exactly, like who the fuck am I paying? Me? I already got a mansion. I already got
Bro, if I
Bahama
was
Islands to
if
myself,
if
bro.
I was the CEO of Silicon Valley Bank, I'd be looking at these companies. I'm like, you missed your pay. You you still have employees. Like, okay, I'm
You guys
sorry.
have
I
employees?
know that we fucked up, but like, bro, like, listen, it's like it's kind of your fault. Like, do you see all this innovation happening? Like,
Yeah, dead ass, bro. It's kind of your fault,
you
like, cause
you
like
need pay. We
even
ain't
you
got no
were
employees
cutting
over
off.
here. How do you think that we lost our
And
money? We don't have any. Do you see any employees here?
exactly, bro. It was just me, bro.
Bro,
Actually, there
if
was
somebody asked
nobody
me
here. I'm not even here.
if somebody
It's,
asked me
they go
for a
to the
job,
office. It's just the founder. The founder's chilling on the couch.
facts.
Where's everybody? Who works here? Nobody. It's just computers.
They're like,
What?
oh,
We
they're
don't need people
online. They're
here.
in India. No, 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 no. They're not in India, bro. Like, they're in the
They're on the
they're at the
cloud.
Microsoft server. Yeah, they're in the cloud. They're in the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
They're in the cloud. Which, by the way,
And on to your
through all
point
this,
with, um, yo, yeah, you can go. You can go.
oh,
Well,
well, before I wanted to talk about the whole compute thing, right? Obviously, AWS, Microsoft servers, like these are fat businesses, but then it'll also be a question of whether it's in the cloud or it's on edge, as in like,
yeah.
we get smaller and smaller computer. But that's a whole different thing, which I would
I
not
think
necessarily put
I think
right
we
now.
should get into that, but
Later.
I was just gonna say something little about on your point where it's like this is why you dropped out of computer science. You didn't want to do it, and that's the same thing for me. Like I don't want to be an employee, and it's because these knowledge workers, quote unquote, when you actually go into these fields and you're not classified as a decision maker, you're more of like a doer. If you're doing the grunt work, if you're literally a henchman, you have to climb so many ladders to get to the point where you're actually very knowledgeable, and that's because you have so much specific knowledge that you're valuable. But being a CEO or being like on a board member is so much more valuable because and it's so much more important to be
Transferable
able to be
leverage.
considered as a board member, not only because it's more leverage, but it's like your specific knowledge in these cases are becoming more and more unvaluable because I mean like devalued because of how fast the innovation is going to be made and how much the grunt work is going to be less and less applicable to what you're doing. I don't need to know how to do all the different console commands to install an API package onto my computer because the interface is going to do it for me. I don't need to have to memorize pip3 install q tensorflow
Mm. That
bracket
makes the learning more efficient
134.
as well.
Exactly,
But
but
again,
also
it must come from a standpoint of complete control, as in with Figma, right? You cannot abstract it to no code or less code, but then have less control because then the top level organizations always go back to just hiring professionals. You know what I'm talking about?
absolutely. That's really important as well. That's really important.
If there's 1,000 different edits that you could make to that line of code to make a tiny edit to change, but then you abstract it in order to make anybody be able to do it, you still have to be able to access all of those 1,000
Yes,
edits that you could have made to the
yes,
terminal in the first place, right?
yes,
So again,
exactly. You have to be
Figma.
aware of all the variables while you're making these changes, and that's where the intuition comes in, because it should be both intuitive on the fact of a person who's doing no code, and also it should maintain the complexity as we talked about in motvpod 1, where the top level person can also work with it.
Yeah,
So it has to be intuitive on both fronts, and
that's
that's
right.
where Figma is really good, because me, someone who's used like graphical interfaces like Photoshop, and Canva, and then up to Figma, the way that the and even Google Slides, the way that the way that these images scale and change across the board are very intuitive because I've also used them a lot. But as a
Yeah,
newcomer who comes over to these things, when I learn them, they're very easy to understand because they carry all the complexity and the potential action states that I could have. And so it's very important when we're doing these, when creating these products that replace the grunt work, that it maintains some sort of level of complexity and also, I guess, visibility of the changes that we're making. For an example of code, like when I'm coding, let's say like it's code, no code is not like scalable yet. A chat interface is really good because I don't need to know every single line of the code. However, the thing can tell me exactly what it's doing, and then when I tell it to make a change of the code, it could
right.
observe the actual different outputs. And in that sense, that's why
Yeah,
a chatbot is really good
human
in that front.
language. That's
But
right, because human
moreover,
language is the most powerful thing, really, because you can always
which is
express.
which is really insane, and that's the thing. That's what I'm thinking about. It's like we don't even need reasoning models if we have all these
Right,
large language
right.
models. So like it's super crazy that the efficiency is going to be outpacing all these grunt workers and these specific knowledge workers, and that goes to show for on a individual level that we need to prioritize for the first time, I think, in history. We need to prioritize getting specific knowledge in very few walks of life, and actually general knowledge is becoming more and more valuable. The and more and more it's just going to be raw talent and raw knowledge that's going to be more valuable. For millennia, it's been specific knowledge, artisans, craftsmen, particular people, and experts who are super valuable. And now that we see that the knowledge and the compute power is going to be, in the short term, far more outpacing than any human could possibly do, we're going to see that specific knowledge is actually going to be devalued, which is not something that I thought, which is honestly, okay, I actually thought general knowledge was so much more valuable in that sense. I didn't extend it to this, but when Naval talked about like specific knowledge is super valuable, I think specific knowledge in regards to human interaction and like markets and in philosophy, specific knowledge in those regards are going to be still important because those are things that can't replicate, and same thing with like decision making, etc. But actually specific knowledge towards like expertise is going to be less and less valuable for the reasons I just said. And I actually envisioned that when he said, you know, specific knowledge is something so much more valuable. And to me, I thought, well, for me as a CEO, I would tend to believe that the more things that I do know, the more things that I have broad understanding of, and the more variables I can assume into my decisions will be the most empowering factor to my company. And and so I think we're going to see that the biggest companies and the ways that these things are going to progress is that education and empowering knowledge for these people in the short term will be extremely valuable to these new CEOs because at the end of the day, like we're not going to have perfection in terms of no code, or maybe we will, and that'll be crazy. And then we also will have things and interfaces and products that will be incredibly intuitive, and they'll maximize all the capabilities of the complexity that is required of it. And then um, we're going to see that the specific knowledge worker is going to be having a mass genocide, a culling of these managerial roles and these rankings in companies. We're literally going to see in real time the death of the corporate ladder, which is so cool to see. It is so grand to
The
see.
death,
And
the death
so,
of the corporate ladder.
yes, the death of the corporate ladder.
Why death? Just shrink it. It'll just go from being a 12-inch ladder to a 12-foot ladder to
Well, I
being like
mean,
a
as it
2 foot
shrinks,
ladder. You call that the death. I
is
understand.
is a one rung ladder even a ladder? It might just be a pull up bar, you know.
Fair
And that's
enough.
what it's gonna be. It's gonna be a fucking pull up bar. It's gonna just be a pull up bar, bro. Who can do the
It's
best
gonna be a
muscle
board.
ups?
It's gonna be a board.
Exactly. It's gonna be a board. There's not even gonna be a corporate ladder, bro. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, inevitably, we're gonna have the death of the corporate
Yo,
ladder because it's
I've,
gonna be
yeah.
big decision makers.
I think that one of the most important things to understand, though, and this is where like a fascinating competition will play out, which will be the true test, is in the fact that it's going to be the startup using less and less workers versus corporations using a lot of like status quo methodologies, HR wise. And that'll
Hmm.
be where you see the competition. Because again, going back to the actual efficiencies rather than just, saving money, this is super important because it's like that, and that'll be the test. Again, it's going to be the competition, which is cool because that's how we'll find out whether it will work out. But again, the same way that I pointed out that it's like you're not going to get Apple Tree Medical to adopt this, no shot. But if you have, but you will have another startup or a multitude of other startups try to compete against them, and then if they win, then then Apple Tree will essentially cease to exist. And that's what's
That's
interesting
gonna be
is you
crazy
have
though. That's
it's a matter of the
so
new
so. Wait, wait,
startups
hold on.
coming in. Yeah,
Let me cook. But you're right. The new startups
please
coming
do.
in. That's what I envision, and something super crazy is that these new models who actually to come to compete with them will also support API and changing infrastructure for these Apple trees. So let's say Motive Clinic right beside Apple trees out competing, then Apple Tree actually has now the need to change infrastructure.
That's
We
right.
supply them the infrastructure.
That will be. Okay, okay,
It's
okay.
a
So
hostile
there's a
takeover.
subsidiary. It's a hostile
It's a
takeover. Oh, sorry.
hostile
We own your
takeover.
backend. We are take right. So okay. But that's also the point in terms of the point that I was making is that in terms of them actually changing, it's not about them choosing that change themselves. It's about the startups who don't really care because they're starting from nothing. So they'll just go to the most efficient, cheapest way possible, right, to do it. And also the huge thing of less and less of having this issue of Netflix, Disney Plus, and everything else in terms of your services. It's much more tied to a single. Um, you might even have it where it's like, hey, you can buy my digital audio interface, sure, as the program. However, in order to actually use it, you need to also have a subscription to Microsoft, Google, or whoever is the provider. For example, it's almost like buying a computer with no software access to it. Like because it's just like
Yeah.
a screen, right? But you still have to have the AI backend into it. So again, it's just a matter of the startups will be the ones who will compete with the status quo and then potentially force the corporations to do this. And then,
Hmm.
of course, the kind of best operators, CEOs, the most kind of tenacious ones will try to fully outcompete the corporations
And I do see it
and
playing that
create
way,
shifts in
honestly.
the hierarchy.
In the I do see it actually playing out like that. I do see it playing out like that. Like
Yes.
the monopolies will be producing, the like despite the monopolies becoming the pickaxes and the pans for the gold miners, there's still a lot of gold to be found. And
Yo, real
so
estate is fucked though, because you just have less and less employees, which means less and less office space.
that's super good. I like that. I love that.
Real estate is fucked.
people who own real estates are fucked. So then all the
They're
big
fucked.
banks and the big motherfuckers who are taking advantage of it, their economic hold is going to go down, and then prices are going to go up for us, and then we're going to have more motive spaces. So like once their monopoly is gone, we're going to buy new shit. Like the thing is with the real estate is land is limited right now. We haven't gone into Mars yet. So more and more like regimes are going to change. Real estate's going to be fucked in the short term, but once we buy it, we're going to change up the game because that's how we do it.
We'll see what
That's
happens.
how we do it.
We'll see how we want to use
Anyways,
those spaces.
oh yeah, it'll be a motive. It'll be corporate party spaces, corporate
Just like a
like
fucking 50 this row of business skyscrapers is my mansion. Yes. I
yeah. These they're
I
all
need to buy
built
new
by
one.
tenants.
I had one too many kids, so we had to move into
Yeah.
a new
Yo,
skyscraper.
you see the Empire State Building? I just bought it, bro. 14 million. Governments don't even need that. They don't need that
I
anymore.
know. They defaulted.
Anyways, what I also think is going to be absolutely imperative
Hmm.
for our business and our ourselves as well as we progress is that because more and more power is going to be put in the hands of individuals. I'm sorry to have to even think that this could be the case. Is that individuals themselves are going to be like the creator, the personal brand will be one of the most powerful things coming up in the business world, and like personality is going to be
Yeah.
leveraged far more
This
than
is what I want to
what
say when you were talking about
we
the
see
advantage
before.
is Riz. It's all about Riz. That's because that's the only thing you have now. The only thing you have is
Yeah,
the human to human contact. That's all there is.
exactly, and that's why that's why like we have to play the game now. That's why it's like I can't be opinionated for a long time because, and the thing is maybe I have to because like inevitably people are gonna have to respect you for your ideology. That's how polarizing it is. So I'm a liberal. I love equality. I'm progressive. Like I hate Trump. I hate all that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I what I mean by like it's crazy to think that like inevitably like the most canonically accepted people will be the people who appeal to the
It's
most
always been
people.
that way though.
Like,
It's always been that way though, right?
but more and more, it's going to be like the center fold of your success. It's going to be way more powerful. Like you have to be respected in certain spaces. You have to dominate communities. And so, and I mean, like we always knew that to an extent, but like now more and more, it really does feel like the top is like it's like a Riz game, and that makes me feel so blessed because like I got my learning model was taught on the 48 laws of power before the 48 laws of power was even came out. So, and you know what I mean? Like I'm ready to riz up,
Mm.
but it's it's like it's more like now it's actually a popularity game. Like we talked about
It's always
how
been a popularity
last
game though.
did we talk about this? I think we talked about this
What?
Wednesday though. But you're right. It's
What?
always been a popularity game, but more and more, as we said, like the closer we get to the top, we
That's right.
called on like
That's true
Wednesday.
because
And I said,
you know what? It's interesting because I guess as like for example, if everybody, for example, let's say everybody could code, there would literally be no leverage at all there, right? Like tech geeks would have basically nothing, right? So the traditional hierarchy would just go back. So that makes sense. Even like for example, if money wasn't a thing, then it would go back to like purely just like physical power. You know what I'm saying? Right? Like money can be very deceptive, for example.
mm-hmm. And it's absolutely right. So like the hierarchies are gonna like.
So
So we said on
so
Wednesday that
yeah.
that like as we progress towards the top, it becomes more and more like high school popularity games because once transferables become um like more and more dispersed, the leverage is gone as we just professed. So once we
Especially
get to
like
these higher
financial
stages,
transferables. Um,
exactly.
I can't do you any favors. You can just like I don't need you. I don't need to lend you my book. That's public information. I don't need
Exactly.
to help you repair your car. The car doesn't break or
It's like
like you know what I
like
mean.
when you're talking to somebody in high school and they start dating the wrong chick. It's like oh, we're being weird. It's like when you're at the top scale, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? When you're at the top, you're like, no money. It's like, why the fuck are you even here? You're you're in the wrong place, bro. Like, what the hell? It's like in high school when you're in with the smart kids and you get like a 70, they're like, what the fuck are you doing? It's like
Mm.
the baseline. All this stuff is the
That's
baseline.
right.
So
That's
once you
right. The
slip out of it,
baseline.
like, you shouldn't even be at
That's
the
right.
top.
Interesting. And it just
So
comes down
the
to,
baselines and the
pure charm and
transferables,
charisma. Because I don't need to lend you my notes. Like your notes
exactly.
are
I'm too
shit
smart.
compared to compared to this AI bot. Well, at the very least,
Yeah.
let me just search up the notes on this AI bot. Like it'll be better.
Let me
So
just go to Kaggle, bro. Let me just go
so
to Course Hero. So those things change, and like, and that's really interesting because I think that's why I'm kicking myself because over the past, like, I've actually experimented a lot during university. Like, I changed how I was
right, right.
like using leverages, and what I mean by that is like at the start I started like purely leveraging people, and I was focusing on social interaction, and then I thought,
Mm-hmm.
let's see how it goes if I leverage my intellect, and then I leverage all these other like things. So I have tips, tricks, I teach people, etc.
Yeah.
And like once you get in with like a smarter group of people, it's like, okay, this is, I don't even need to do that anymore. So then now my power is gone. So then it's like it goes back. Then it goes backwards. Now it's like, okay, what else can I provide? Well, sociability, entertainment, connections, and so that's where I'm at right now. Where it's like most of my friends, they like me because I can tell them about stuff going on, and I can give them connections, and I can let them know about what's happening. I become a fucking journalist. So like leverage is changing in that way where that's like information, and then moreover, like gossiping, etc. And so the I think the upper limit of that is basically going to be just your personality because information
That's
is going to be
right.
transferable. So like
It's
you have to
really, are you a
provide
likable person? It gets
exactly.
that.
Are you like,
It
well,
gets to
yeah.
just to your personality. Are you nice to be around?
And so you truly have to be like, so you truly have to play the game where when you
Yeah.
get to these upper things, like you have to make sure that you're likable in all these aspects, and you're a caring person, and you truly have compassion for people, because eventually it's all going to be for naught. And that's really interesting to think about because we say it as though it's like regressing, because when we say that we have all these
No, it's
leverages,
progress.
we end up going back to the principles. And I say this because, like, when I think about people having like quote unquote trivial problems where they're fighting over girls or having like gossip or having entertainment, or they want to hang out with their friends or go clubbing and shit, me, the part of the grind set, trying to get the big bucks
Yeah.
over here, trying to get my own leverage. I think, and I'm like, well, that's kind of a waste of my time right now. I mean, power to them, but I couldn't be seen. You couldn't catch me doing that. More and more we see that inevitably we're going to be doing that stuff,
Right.
and instead of
Right.
partying with your buddies
Right.
here, you're partying with
Right.
creators and content creators and millionaires.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So
I've also
so
considered that. It really did hit me when you kind of realize that it'll all fall into place. You're like, oh wait, I should just probably just start acting proper now instead of later. You know what I mean?
and that's why
So
we got the suits on. That's why we got the drip, because we got to
that's
be
right.
entertaining creators. We got to be
That's right.
creators. That's what it is. And so like that's why I think, like, and that's why I'm grateful for this podcast, because I mean, inevitably we're also gonna be doing crazy entertainment, but I also think, like,
Oh yeah.
regardless of what it is, we're still gonna be talking about like intellectual things, and that's great because there's gonna be a community where people will be interested in like our discussions here. But
Oh yeah. We'll
like
bring in the right people.
I've always seen it in the future where we run parties and we run stuff like that, and it's crazy, and I'm so glad that Motive was based on that, because that's what it's going to. That's probably going to be the last, the
It
last
is
business
the
that's sustainable.
well yeah. It's that's and even for me like I'm moving away from the music industry as something that I'm immediately pursuing, but this remains my outlet for like fulfilling an entertainment business. And that's why when we
Hmm.
talked about like the name, I said Motive Entertainment, because in some sense it is an entertainment company. And yeah, I mean it's beautiful that we get to do our own entertainment. At least for me, I've talked about this, feels like very airy fairy, lack of leverage. You know what I'm saying? Like the government isn't shitting their pants over Ticketmaster, for example. So we get to go
Hmm.
and do like high leverage, high impact businesses, high profit businesses, and then come back here and um work on the last business that matters, which
Hmm.
is community. So yeah.
And you know what? Like, I think we both always envisioned it to be the case. Like,
Oh yeah,
I mean, the only reason, even on my long term gains, like the only reason that I even wanted to live forever, is so I can party forever. That's how it gotta be. That's so I can
bro.
see everything.
Yeah. Well, you've talked about this a lot. That it's a very selfish thing. You only want to provide experiences for others in some sense, so that you can experience those things with them. But that's like you just don't want to do shit alone. So yeah, 100%.
Well, I mean, not even that, but it's like, like it's just that there's obviously, you don't want to do it alone, but it's more like there's just experiences that you don't have when you're not with people,
Yeah, that's right.
there's just so many more things you can do with people. And on the same token, like I think we always like building the products and thinking in the short term for the business that we want to create. It's always been about just getting capital. Like, I think like the question that I asked is like, how do I make money the fastest? It's not how do I produce value the fastest. The first question was how do I make money, and then it turned into realizing that you have to provide value to make money, etc. But the end goal is like to sell all the companies that we make, and then have a couple big companies that we focus on after we've retired at 22, where we have all these huge ass conglomerates that are running themselves because of all our AI bots, and so you know and that's why I'm so glad to have gone through this personal journey where we focused on growing ourselves, changing our personalities, our our egos, and working towards becoming better humans. Because inevitably, the the gap between the ultra rich and the very standard people will shrink. The ability to be able to get into these environments will be a lot easier for these people, and it's going to be focused and centered towards individuals who are just likable people. So
Yeah,
now it's like, and
fame
that's
is an
something I
external
realized.
leverage.
Exactly, and that's what I
Money
realized.
is an abstraction
When I
of
was
it.
meditating. Absolutely, absolutely. Or money is an amplifier of it, where like if you're a cool guy, if you have a lot of money, you can do cool shit with cool people. So
That's also true.
now it's like I thought about it before, and this is the kind of feeling I was trying to convey to you on Wednesday, where I was telling you like at the top it's really nothing. It's just more and more. It's just
Yeah,
like you can set the stage, but
it's
it's
more of the
also
same.
like while you're climbing the ladder, all these ants are the same. And I had this feeling where it's like it's literally a question of like who am I? Am I not as like a business person, but like is my character, I guess, intrinsically likable? Am I a nice person? Am I kind? Am I compassionate? Am I likable to be around? What leverage do I have as an individual? Am I a person that people tend to like to be around? And so, that's why I never really got that anxiety of my image away, even though I started to care less,
Mm.
but I still like even in person I still care about it to a great degree because I know how important it is and I know how important it'll stay. And so, you know, I think I think it's going to be an interesting time in the coming years, and building our personal brands is going to be very fun to see
Oh yeah,
because
it's gonna be
I
fucking sick, bro.
yeah, bro, because
It's
I
gonna
don't
be
know how
so
to
sick.
like we're gonna have to figure out like how do we actually convey our our personalities. Like how do we monetize our
There's no
ourselves,
see
like
monetizing and
what's
conveying. Well, you monetize by conveying, and you convey
yeah.
by
No, yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
showing it off as much as possible.
So like but like
It's the thing is
on that
it's there's no R&D required. It's already there.
yeah, exactly. That's what's so valuable about it because like we can just like sit behind a computer and start talking and it would be so
And in some
fire.
sense, that's part of why the micro influencer economy is growing is because this is an asset that you don't have to build up. Everybody already has this asset, and thus just like in like a very like kind of barbaric day, you will just fundamentally use the only thing you naturally have because everything that you don't naturally have can be built up by a sophisticated model.
So then, what do and you know what? Like, I don't see like no, I don't think any AI could get to that point. Like an AGI in the terms of a singularity could not leverage this because they have no personal experience.
It wouldn't
They
matter
have to
though,
be
right?
what do you mean?
Like they're not a
But
they're not a
if
human.
you
They
had
can't
like
know
an
that.
autonomous well, yeah, you're right. Exactly. That's the point. Like a singularity in that sense wouldn't be able to do it. An AGI in that sense because they're just conglomerates of information who makes conscious decisions.
I
They'd
don't
be
care
too
about
far off
meeting
and
SpongeBob, bro. Like you know what I'm saying?
exactly. But you know, like an AI agent that can like Detroit become human, if a fucking android is walking around and they can observe the world, then they would
Yeah,
also be candidates of having those very likable personalities. But you
true.
know, then again, like anthropomorphizing these models is very risque because like we can't even like for one provide a function to truly emulate that, nor can we understand the inner workings of our own personalities.
I think people would have a
So
robot as a pet for sure.
yeah, I think Jarvis would
It
be
would.
dope. Like,
Those toys existed when we were kids, and hope it's probably going to be like kind of like another TikTok issue. Except I don't know how the U.S. government is going to take care of this one when everybody's got uh, you know
bro, as long as it's not made by China, they're not
Chinese
gonna ban it.
government. No, that's the point I'm making. I don't. The Chinese one is $20 cheaper, bro. Shit,
It won't be for long, but we're deglobalizing. That's
that's
which
true.
is great. So like, and yo, it's crazy because I really like to see that we're
What?
deglobalizing
Oh,
because then we have like it seems bad, right? Because we're less dependent on each other, but that means we're fighting less with each
that is
other.
bad.
So, like we don't have to bicker with each other. So like instead of like it's going to become where we're like instead of like outsourcing these things and then having all these trade wars, all these economic incentives and agreements, we just like we just enjoy we climb the hierarchy. We start liking them for their culture. Like once we deglobalize and then Russia stops being a little bitch baby and China doesn't want to manifest destiny, like we
Yo,
would probably just be like, yo,
is that a
China temples
serious
are
take
fire.
though? Really?
Yeah, that's a
Really?
I yes. You really think that deglobalization is not better for the world?
Well, I have no clue, but you probably have a leg to stand on, whereas I don't. But I mean, just logically, I think that the logical implication of not relying on somebody is being able to attack them. You wouldn't attack somebody
Mhm.
that you rely on.
That's only in the sense
It's why you
if
can only
you're
borrow from a bank if you already have loans.
okay, but like I'm friends with X person because they give me all my homework, but I hate them as a person. So, if they keep giving me homework, I won't beat the shit out of them. Okay. But let's say we still all have our
That's right.
nukes, and then I stop needing their shit from them. Then we'll probably have less reasons to beat them up. Because let's say, Steve over there stops supplying me his homework, I'm gonna be pretty pissed. Because it's like, bro, my system was built off of you, so you better give me your homework or I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. But I don't have reason to because you give it to me. That's a very conditional relationship. And, that's not good. But with Freddie and Cheval and you and my boys, I don't need anything from you guys. I need your attention. And so, in that sense, it's like
Yeah.
why like there's no scenario where I would beat you up, and that's the thing. And even if we were, I would assume that you guys would be able to challenge me to a great extent if we were to have a duel. So if we all have nukes, if we all have hydrogen bombs, thermonuclear weapons, and we aren't dependent on each other, we'll probably never have a reason to nuke each other. And I think that's the logical response to that
Right.
because if
Yeah.
I'm if our trade agreements and all of our relationship is based off a bunch of conditional things and we're codependent on each other, it's literally like a codependent divorce, bro, like a codependent relationship. If we require each other to stay alive, we're obviously going to have vast retaliations if neither's around. But I think indifference is the big difference in this case because if I don't care whether you're here or not, there's no reason for me to directly harm you because you're out of my way. It's the only case that would be wrong is like an ant hill in the way of my road, because in that case then we'll have beef. But I don't like America doesn't need to go to China for their shit. I'm not gonna go to Chinese land and say, yo, I like your wood, run me that. No, we have our own trees. We plant our own trees. We have our own resources now. Canada got enough shit. We'll trade with the Americans. And in that sense, once we become less codependent, like it's gonna it's gonna regress back to like very basic things like resources. So it's gonna be who can take Africa the fastest. But and that'd be the only sense of it. But like if we don't need China's factories anymore, then there's no reason to put economic sanctions on China, and then we're probably gonna have better relations as a result. If we don't, if we don't care to support like ideologies because it's not within our economic incentive to do so, and it doesn't matter what trade agreements we have with these countries, then let them be communist if they want, because it doesn't
That's a
affect
stretch on
me.
ideologies.
Well, I mean, why else does America, okay, I don't have to be vague. Why else does America actually want to, leverage their their ideological incentives? It's so that they can maintain trade partners and economic
Okay.
control. Like they go around and they tell everybody what to do, and that's because they have economic incentive to do so. And so like if we didn't need to suffocate China because we were scared that China was going to take over, if we didn't even like look at Norway and Sweden, bro. You think they care about what's happening right now? I think they only care about if Russia comes to invade them. But for the most part, they're pretty separate from like American economy. They're got their own thing
But why did
going.
Russia? But
They're
why did
probably
Russia invade Ukraine?
That's a different story. I mean, you could say why did Russia invade Ukraine they because America was suffocating them. That is literally what it is. NATO was suffocating them. They were right at their doorstep, and they said, "Don't spread into this. We don't want your influence." And Putin probably envisioned that the Russian regime is probably going to die eventually, so they didn't want that. They didn't want they didn't want their power to be taken from them. Again, it goes back to like economic incentives. Like Ukraine and Russia were also big
Hmm.
wheat exporters and also oil trade
Hmm.
partners. Same with all of Europe; they love the oil. Like the Germany Russia pipeline was incredible. Even though I'm pretty sure they just blew it up. So I don't know. But regardless, like again, if we weren't codependent on each other and we didn't care about power, if we had all the power we wanted, we wouldn't go and manifest destiny. Like Elon doesn't go around raiding countries because he doesn't need to do that. He has all the power he needs, and he has all the leverage he needs. He only bought Twitter as a joke, which is crazy. Like imagine being someone who does things as a joke rather than out of necessity, and that's some incredible power. But America is teetering trying to be the king of the world right now,
I
and
get your point.
yeah. So,
We understand.
anyways, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, like we should like I don't want to keep talking about my political views, but I just think we I just think inevitably through progression and civilization, just the natural progression of how we automate our systems, we're gonna inevitably be better friends. I think we'll be friends with everybody. Like there's no reason to fight if we're dependent on each other. Anyways, so let's go back and talk about I do want to expand on personal brands more. I think it's very
Okay.
interesting to talk about because I don't know what it should look like and what it will look like inevitably, but what I do know is that personality, like I didn't even imagine this was the case. Sorry. That like people were like tied to platforms. Like to me that never occurred to me, but now that I like realize like yeah, people were actually like they were tied to platforms. But I mean, like, I never really thought that everybody was restricted to a certain platform. Like, I thought, like you could expand your audience, whatnot. But that embodied in the form of like short form video, where now content is transferable across everywhere. Um, and so
In what way?
like that, I think that personality and now like personal brands are transferable across all platforms.
Why do you think that?
And so like short form video. Like Andrew Tate is uncancelable because his fans, for one, uproot his brand, and
But what's different
then
than
more
before?
so,
What's different than before?
it is different than before. That's what I'm saying. Like the short form
What
video
is?
is oh, short form video. Like there hasn't been like a very like there hasn't been a medium where it's very consumable and it can be easily managed across a bunch of different mediums, and so a bunch of different platforms. So short form video is the difference because like where you had live video, where you had YouTube videos, where you had Facebook posts, Instagram posts. You can condense all of those things into very simplistic short form videos where, like you could have pictures in these short form contents where it's like literally just like a bounding box where you can put literally any sort of content in there. And so with that, like you can transfer your influence across a bunch of different platforms because of this short form video. So what was missing is that they never had sort of a really easy transferable way to mass produce their content across platforms. Because before, if you had to make a live stream, then you would have to re-upload it after you're live. Like you'd be live in two places. Let's say you're live on Facebook, Twitch, and then YouTube maybe. Then your live is done. Then you have your live video that you recorded. Now you have to upload them separately all to these things. That'd be good. But it's like, oh wait, how do I get them on into Instagram as well and Twitter? Like maybe I'll make
Mm-hmm.
a little post and then you have, like a
Okay.
picture now. But now with short form, it's like I record maybe one long video and then I cut them all into clips and then I can post them literally on every platform now. One button, boom, everything is there. So now like the efficiency and the outreach is at
So you're
far greater
saying
scale because you have
there's a
the medium.
funnel. You're saying
Yes, yes.
there's
Or
a
rather,
funnel too.
the funnel is efficient and universal. I think that's the main difference. So
Okay.
with that, um, how is like I want to think about, for one, how is the universality of content going to progress, and how is it that we can leverage our personalities better, or rather, how can we truly encapsulate our person, or maybe the most likable things about us? Because on one hand, you could go about it and being like hyper professional, and that is what it is, and perhaps you could be likable there. But then again, you're leveraging like perhaps specific knowledge in that regard, or you could just be like an entertainer in that sense. And then it could be
Mm-hmm.
easy, maybe like a capsule personality. But what is it that what will make it so that we can universally express our influence across all forms of content and
I
platforms?
would. I might go and either look at examples in history that I've cared about, but also go to the in-person level because at some point everything is not necessarily an abstraction, but the if you could just be in a million places at one time, at a million barbecues at one time, that'd be perfect, right?
Yes,
Because and of course
yes, yeah.
word of mouth marketing is still the best marketing. So I would go and I think about, is there ever a person I knew in my community who was just that motherfucker, and you don't really know what job they did, like you don't know where they work. They might as well have not worked because like that wasn't the point of them, right? Like they were just that motherfucker at the barbecue. You know what I'm saying? Like so if I would go and look at that and then see in what ways did that play out to my child eyes, because in some sense it's like it's almost like no matter where because the point is that no matter where you meet them, you feel, very comfortable and you feel like you want to do the task with them, whether that's an entertainment task, a professional task. Um, so, and obviously, like we can start listing off the characteristics. That's also a way to get into it, like or not the characteristics, but the factors, touch points. Obviously, the more you see them, the better. So it's like if you can just completely take over
Mm.
um, the the feed, then you build up that insistence. Um, the same way that it's like really, really generally speaking, I think that the most kind of tried and true way across any sort of personality type or any sort of task to build up rapport with a person is to just spend a lot of time with them. Like if you spend a shit ton of time with a person, your personality doesn't really matter. If you spend a lot of time with a person, you're gonna you're
Yeah.
gonna grow to like them. And next time you go to work with them, you'll be like, yeah, that's my motherfucking guy. So it's like, and this is why we kind of know that we're gonna stay friends with the people who we're friends with now for the rest of our lives, just because that like it keeps on building, building, and building, and it's kind of hard for somebody new to come in right now. However, at the same time, you know, these platforms do provide a nice on ramp because right away you can build up less of a star studded personality and you're just there. And it's kind of like, and then at some point, let's say, like, imagine you, we do this now, right? Like you'll like stalk somebody on Instagram and then before you meet them, you're not in person and you, like, everybody, you already know everything about them
Yeah.
beforehand, right? So this is, and this is why, like, for example, we all started, working on we all started embracing all of these online mediums rather than trying to push them away for peace of mind because we understood them to be the most important thing. The interaction starts there. So I mean, in some sense, like, and this is the thing, John, like, that I really learned with the whole poster thing. At least up to this point for me, it was like with marketing, at least, like, in my case, I found that it's not there. I'm not saying that there isn't, or I don't want to say that there isn't a strategy that is juggernaut, but in a lot of ways, it's just about hustle and building and working on a product that you love. Like, for example, when managers will work with artists, in a lot of ways, it's not really about having a super duper smart manager with an artist who is just so perfect and unique and of the moment. It's more so just this manager happens to have an incentive for whatever reason to really really hustle this one. So the point is, these kind of like, and this is the thing, right? Like, our minds where we live, always looking for the little edge. Again, I'm sure that they're there, but I will say that to start, it's literally it's we're all working on the same linear. Who will out, especially right now, right? Like, for example, we're talking about, we want the clip maker to come out, right? And we might even have and I think that actually it could be something that a platform buys. Like, for example, TikTok might buy this and now start literally just implementing, like what if we had like an app that scrapes YouTube for shit, and then boom, it just runs the content. Now, I don't know what the right. There's obviously all the
Mm,
legality issues, but the point
that's
is, you
fire. Yeah,
see
yeah,
you see what I'm saying, right? So,
yeah.
but until then, we're still all like, the person who posts 5 times a day does better than the person who posts 2 times a day, and the person who posts 20 times a day does better than the person who posts 5 times. We're still kind of playing on these linears where it's like, all the answers. This is not about thinking. This is about doing, and at least for me with posters, that's where the issues came in, and now I've essentially overcame that, and I understand that business is about hustle just as much as it is about smarts. So
For
again,
sure. For
there
sure.
these exist, and we can talk about them because they're super interesting, and they will help in the long term. But in some sense, John, it's really just about going about it and thinking about it as we do it. Like, for example, this summer we want to um, throw a party that is super well executed, and at the same time we have our podcast in the background, which is very well recorded, and we have like funny interactions with people coming in. For myself, I haven't been doing this right now because I'm moving my laptop a lot for this presentation that I'm doing. But like, for myself, like, I'm just recording myself working 24/7 and seeing what potentially comes out of it, and then eventually but the thing is, for me, it's like, it's super important for these other businesses to succeed, to facilitate that
Hold
financially,
on.
because
I
there's
gotta
also
use
the
the bathroom
financial
real quick, but keep
barriers.
talking. I'm listening to you.
Sure, sure, sure.
Keep talking. I'm listening to you. I need to go to the bathroom.
Oh, okay, okay. So, um, in terms of, yeah, so again, as with any kind of marketing, I'm still convinced that one of the biggest points of success is just how often can how often do you touch a person's life. And we live in the digital realm. We spend basically all of our lives, most of our lives there. So the more you can appear in kind of certain different aspects, the better. And this is super interesting because you talk about the vagueness, right? Well, it's like, think about like seeing like a sports star or like a movie, um, an actor in like a Super Bowl ad, right? You're like, oh, that's that movie actor. But it's like, it's kind of interesting because what if you saw them in so many different advertisements where you just like, oh, it's like that guy. Like, you've never really seen like an advertisement. You've never really seen an advertisement actor appear in so many popular ads that it's like you start to know them. Um, but this can build up that vagueness, right? Like if you just happen to appear in a shit ton of different TikTok videos for whatever reason on like a ton of different subjects, that means that you're basically in that person's community, right? Because their community is all these different TikTok videos, which might have some different subjects to play with. And then if you just appear in all of those, you are now in that person's community. So maybe a way to be transferable here is, okay, this is super interesting. Let's say somebody who really loves, I don't know, David Dobrik. Obviously, that's somebody as me, okay? And they watch a shit ton of David Dobrik videos, right? But then let's say they also watch some other creator who's like has no contact with them, right? And then if they ever do, it would be a sick crossover episode. But like, let's say they're like super different. They live in like different ends of the country, let's say, okay? But then you happen to, for whatever reason, appear time to time, appear in both of their videos, or all the time you appear in both of their videos, then that's kind of sick. And you know, this is kind of one of those, again, interesting extreme cases where it's sort of more of just like a kind of fun case study for what would happen if we kind of turn this up to a notch. But I think of similar. Oh, like times when it's like you hear these kind of interesting articles like Tesla becomes the most highly valued company on earth, having made zero profits ever. Or like I'm pretty sure that was a thing at some point. Or like the first $1 billion valued company, which is a private startup. Like for example, this happened to Stripe, right? It was these really interesting, like almost like dichotomies, where it's like something that is like something becomes like super duper successful in like in a realm without actually like taking the steps that would typically you have to take. Or like, oh, I think it was like, it's like if a product, if like for example, let's say that some company, some brand says that pre-orders for a product, and then they raise like $100 million, not having told the people what the product is, for example. Or oh yeah, like for example, like a startup raised $100 million without even having a product. They just said crypto this. So what about this? Would be a super interesting case. What if you had the most influence, however, you didn't even have a personal account? Yo, have you been keeping up with what I'm saying in the headphones?
Yes, I've been listening the
Okay,
whole
perfect,
time.
perfect. So imagine this extreme case where somebody has the most influence, but they, like for example, when TikTokers who were super popular on TikTok made a YouTube channel, they didn't have to grow it. It just came like this, right? Because the people were already there ready to pick it up. So what if you had no personal accounts, right? But you just appeared in everybody else's accounts, and then you pulled up in an ad and sold like like 20,000 fucking wallets or whatever. That's kind of the extreme case. But again, this is why for me it's always like, for example, for me I'm like, shit, we need a motive house to do the party, but we want to, like, the kind of ideal imagination which we will absolutely create is that we are not, like, we're basically a non-for-profit entertainment company. We just come through, and we talked about this, right? The ideal scenario is that we build up the funds in highly profitable industries, and then we just execute kind of however we want the entertainment to be, right? But this is where it's cool because I lost my train of thought. Shit. Anyways, you, like, for example, let's say
Well,
you
before you go
really
on to the
did
next thing,
put,
let me just say,
yeah,
I want to go on what you said earlier. While I was in the
sure, sure.
bathroom, I thought that was super valuable what you said on being the bridge between communities. I think
That's
that is
right.
super
That's right.
valuable. And on the token of what you're saying, like it's like when
Because you're
Morgan
in that
Freeman
person's
pops in.
world. Because because you're
Exactly.
because again the kind of basis in my mind when I was thinking about the music industry a lot, the basis of like entertainment profiteering is literally just you pick the person who best represents a subculture, and then you have them sell people stuff. But it's like the lower or higher you go, you encapsulate more people but with less leverage, right? But then it's like if
Hmm.
you can cross subcultures, that's when you have the
Yes.
prolificity, especially because you have more word of mouth. If I meet somebody who I don't give a shit about anything that they're into, but then it so happens to be that that we now do give a shit about the same thing because I, or whatever kind of face, was in both those things. And the thing is, we talked about this a long time ago where it was like I remember this very, very clearly. It was like the night we were like outside my house, and you told me like I'm just interested in a lot of different things, right? I don't know if you remember this, but I'm like I was
I
like
do.
how do you talk to so many people, right? And you said
Yeah,
I'm just interested
I do remember
in
that.
everything, and that's the thing, right? Where you can teleport and you know it
Yes,
like it builds up leverage. It builds up leverage, and then it's a
it
matter of
does.
do you want to. And the thing is, it's funny because before I'll let you go, but before you were talking about knowledge work and less specialization. Well, again, it's cool to be super specialized in terms of being very, very, deep in a subculture. But in terms of leverage, in terms of transferable leverage, like if you're just that guy who's like in every single group in your school, like there's something there. And again, like I would just love to kind of scroll from because it's almost like it's teleportation, right? If I take a TikTok
Mm.
and I'm in one reel and then I scroll into another one, I literally just teleported subcultures, geographic regions. Like I literally just teleported into a different part of the world, a completely different part of my brain, a completely different interest set. I might have gone from fucking, I don't know, bad bikini bitches to math, bro, right? But it's like if I happen to be in
And it's,
both, like just there, that's
yeah,
fucking dope, right?
listen, bro. Dan Bilzerian was in those industries, bro. You see him bad bikini bitches, and you see him on yachts. That's how it
And
gotta be, bro. But it's really
and
important. It's really important.
and the point is that on the back end, because at some point to facilitate this on the back end, you have to build up those relationships, which is obviously the sickest part of this, because then you're not just building up the relationship with, because then the point is you're leveraging other people as platforms. It's almost
Mhm.
like when creators went onto Facebook, the platform, and started creating content, you are now the creator is the platform. You are to the creator what they were to Facebook, right? And the same way that the creator would go and post on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, right? Twitter, they would have to post across all these different platforms. As a personality, you in some now that the creator is the platform, you in some sense have to post across these creators. The same way that like when Casper advertises their mattresses, they have to go with Kylie Jenner, fucking Justin Bieber, right? They
That's
have to
it.
have all
That's
these
it.
people, move into houses and post with their new mattress box, right? So some people have been doing this for ages, right? But interestingly, I think that like especially like people who are individual personalities, like influencers, I don't know how much they focus on cross episodes, right? But it's like back in like the Nickelodeon days and shit, right? Like cross episodes were the fucking sickest episodes,
Staying with the shit.
especially because if I watched fucking iCarly but I didn't know what Victorious was. Now, after this one, I might actually go and check it out. So, and
Exactly.
but it's like,
Exactly.
what if Gibby was a fucking character in Victorious too? That'd be weird as fuck. That would make no sense. However, now because obviously the great thing about today's content is that it's like real world simulation. People can appear in different movies, and there's no you can be the same character in different movies.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Bro, Infinity War, man. The multiverse,
that's
bro.
right. That's right.
And that's really important. That's really important because the distinction here is like it's again like this is actually really interesting because it's regressive. It's regressive in the sense where that these like our progression towards more like complicated systems are actually in of the automation and trying to recreate a lot of the interpersonal connections and all the things that require us to do these things that we do. The more automation we get, the more further we come back to these regressive things. And then where it's like that the little bit that you can't replicate necessarily with AI yet, or maybe even ever, is that leverage of that experience. And that's the most important, that's the most important part when we talk about these things, because when you have these people, like if you, let's say you admire like a good researcher, you know that's what his leverage is accountable to his knowledge. It has nothing to do with his personality. And so with that, like, you wouldn't really care if he popped up on these different commercials. Like if you saw um like if you saw I can only think of like one scientist. If you saw Anthony Fauci
it's
pop up
it's
at
not
a
it's
at a
not relevant to the
commercial.
it's not relevant to the domain because you're judging them you because you want to optimize for what you're working on in the workplace, right? So
Exactly, exactly. And so if
so
he's
it's
acting as the
inefficient.
bridge between, Exactly. If he's acting as the bridge between, like some science and knowledge content and like other content between these communities, it's really
But you know
inefficient
what?
because who
It's
knows?
interesting that Anthony Fauci, after he, retired from the government or whatever. Sorry if I'm wrong about that. He didn't go
Wow.
and get paid to do some ads because he could actually sell like a lot of shit. Like that'd be pretty
Well,
fucking
yeah, but
comedic.
that's because. But the thing is, that's a little bit different because it's more or less it still has to do with information
Yeah,
leverage, and then that's also
that's
trust
right.
as well. But
That's
but
trust.
then we go back at someone like Bill Nye. That's completely different because the experience that we have with Bill Nye actually has it so that he has so much more leverage to a lot of these people because he has sentimental value towards them. If Bill Nye told me something
Mm,
about science, I would listen. I would listen because I remember all the little dollies that
right.
would be carted in with the
That's
TVs. I'd
right.
be like, oh, if
So
he says something, it's facts. But I see Fauci and he says something, and there's like so much debate around it, and it's like, oh, what's the case? But if you saw Bill Nye and he said something about it, I'd be like, damn, he might be right. I'm gonna have to do
right.
that. I'm gonna have to do whatever he says. And so it's like that. If you're trying to be the bridge between something, having a personality is very important because you actually incentivize people to go towards there based on
That's
your
right.
personal experiences. And
So
it's it's towards leveraging experience more than anything else. And not necessarily like specific knowledge per se, but actual sentimental experience. If you can go about something and and that's why being a million places at once is really valuable. That's why seeing people over and over and over again gets you a lot of brownie points with people because you just share more experience with people on average. The reason why we all are close friends from high school and why people tend to stay friends with their high school or college friends is because we just tend to hang out with each other a lot. We have so many experiences
or
to
at the
look
very least,
back
people
on, to
don't
laugh
make
about.
friends after college. They don't make new friends after college.
Exactly. Because when they're in these workplaces, they may be jumping around, they don't see them as much and they don't hang out as much, and they spend time probably more often with their wife than they do with their friends. And that's why it gets more harder because
That's right.
cultivating these relationships is a big time commitment. And
And
so,
interestingly,
you know,
one of the kind of fundamental advices to getting friends when you're an adult is to consistently go to a single place, like for example, a gym.
yeah, yeah. And it's insane. And even in like the even with us, like the more and more I go to the gym, the more like culture you get because like that's where the
Bro,
community is.
that's
And
why
so
that's why the
if
same way that I said we should just go and look at who is that guy in the community or whatever in like some sort of community. Like for you, it might be like I don't know, like Robert's dad, for example. Um, it's like and
mm,
just apply that. It's like for example, you could just go into a high school or like into better yet, go to an elementary school, see who did everybody know, and then just apply that like using all of the different kind of mediums that people use today. Those are the most efficient examples of that.
and moreover, it's not just who did these people know, it's more or less who did these people like actually have a relationship with. Because if you actually observe of the dynamics that occurred in high school, let's look at that. So there's a lot of people who people knew about, but people didn't know them entirely. Like for example, there's a lot of people who knew like a lot of people know a lot of people are fans. If you're a fan of somebody, then you're not necessarily going to be inclined. But if you have these parasocial relationship with somebody, that is so much more valuable. Or rather, in these high school settings, if you actually know the guy and you've spoken with him a lot, that's going to give you a lot more sentiment for you to actually follow what he says rather than just hearing about him and thinking that he's quote unquote popular. If you go about and you teleport across a bunch of cliques, a bunch of communities, and you can actually have conversation with all of these different people, that's those people who actually have these value. If if you're if you're a guy and you're going to the gym, let's say you're going to the gym and let's say you're known for like I mean like let's say you're in all these communities and you someone happens to be interested in something, you give them that leverage, and then you're able to connect them with other people who have that leverage, or you've worked out with them enough to give them that leverage, etc. When somebody needs some leverage to be transferred, then and you already know somebody who has done that, or they're just you've spoken enough with that person, maybe you could ask them if they presented themselves as that person who can give you that value or can find them for you, then at that point you'll be known as that guy and then people will come towards you. Like I could imagine, like very useful people or people who make themselves useful are people who say like I know a guy, and that's something I identified with a lot of people who have a lot of good friends and a lot of respectable people in the
Oh
business
yeah,
world.
I mean you always want to. Well, we know this, right? At the party, you always want to be. Oh, you should
Yeah,
look at this guy. Oh yeah, here. Yeah, right. So,
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Like a lot of people that I meet, they're like, "Yo, yeah, like you should come to the mosque because I know a
right.
guy. He's running his own stuff." And I'm like, "Oh, what? Really? Just for the mosque?" It's like, "Yeah, that's how I know him, and that's super powerful."
That's
So
right. That's right,
that's
baby.
why, like, exactly, and that's why I love going to. That's why, like, that's the only reason actually that I go to campus. That it's literally the sole reason, so that I can be present more, so that people know me, and it provided unfathomable value when we were at the hackathon, and that's just one example. Like
Mm,
at the hackathon, because I had made myself very present in the computer science community at the university, I was able to excel a lot better because I was in for one, I got I got access to the private rooms and whatever. I got some food or whatever. I got to talk with the cool guys, but also they got to help me as well because I've been knowing them
right.
and they want to see me succeed. They want to see everybody succeed. But
Right.
it's also
Right.
other
Right.
teammates. We can collaborate and talk and have fun, and so stuff like that is super valuable. Where you have to be able to have leverage in a bunch of different communities, and being known and being present wherever you are is incredibly valuable because you have shared experiences and because they know that you can connect them with other people and to give them better shared experiences. And that's why
Hmm.
that's also important because if you can say I think you'd really like this guy, you should meet him. I think people who set people up are are one of the coolest people out there because those people create new
Yeah.
friendships. And then when you see them and they tell you about something towards interpersonal
Mm.
relationships,
Just
you respect them
stamp
and
of
you believe
approval.
them far more.
Right. Well,
Pardon?
a lot of yeah, the stamp of approval, and this is aligned with the opinion of a lot of pretty like you know thinking people, which is that some of the most kind of secure uh people on social media are the ones who like just curate the curators, right? So you're basically just a curator of people in that sense, right?
Mhm.
You got people who are curating content, like playlists on Spotify and stuff. So same thing.
And that's great. And I think a good way to leverage that is to one have a lot of skills on your own because then like you're naturally going to be inclined to get into certain communities because people will relate to you on that. Obviously be in a lot of different places at once. Like you have to be in different communities, different places. That's why I want to go to a rock climbing gym. I want to go to the gym. That's why like I work out at the university, and then I also like want to get a rock climbing membership. I also work out at my own gym, and then I also go to Planet Fitness sometimes with the boys.
Right.
Or sometimes I stay in one place for a
And
while.
that's
I
but
see
the
them,
gym is a
and
good
2 hours
example
later, I stay in the same place.
of setting up activities which match up, right? And this is what I talked about, like music touring, where or I like some sort of there's some workplaces where it so happens to be that doing work you collaborate with people and you struggle with them and also succeed with them on like a very kind of prolonged basis, and there's just this like physical closeness as well. And so it's position because you talked about this last time. In your job, positioning ourselves in places where it's almost like it would be sick if people always have to go like through you to get somewhere. You have
Mhm.
you because the first part is obviously figuring out what are the activities where we can align, because especially because like we basically don't do anything purely for entertainment. Like it always has to be paired with something good, right? Which is why a lot of people like us, they're basically just friends with the people who they work with. And this happens in universities too, obviously, where people make the majority of their friends, right? They just study together, at least to start. And but again, like the other kind of part that I think we haven't really experienced with as much yet is in your career, you are in a place where people have to, you're in a position where people have to kind of like go to you to get some sort of like get their task done, because you just are a gatekeeper naturally to so many different we can call it a gate facilitator to so many
Hmm.
different avenues. And this is why we want to go into industries that a lot of different people have their hands in, that a lot of different people care about, including the government, because then you're working with all these people and you're building up these relationships naturally. And you even see this, like that's why I love that when they when Justin Trudeau and Joe Biden, linked up, you saw that they went to the house and then they all their families linked up and shit, right? So that's how business gets done a lot of the time. It's not
Hmm.
just in the boardroom. So yeah, like the
And
industries that we're
that's
going into a
really
lot of time have a lot of different stakeholders in them over a lot of
and
different
so at
countries.
the end of the day, we tend to observe that status again, like it always comes back down to status is the most important thing to 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 people who want to go to the highest reaches for businessmen. Because inevitably, like I don't need a big house because I want to have a big house. I need a big house so that I can have really nice business meetings, and so people could respect me, or so people can compliment my house, or maybe they could want to party at my house, or I could have events at my house, and I could have a nice time there. I want to have a good car, not because I want to be a fucking I want to go to car meets and shit. Actually, I would want to go to car meets so I can
That's
meet
why
business
the reason
people,
why you go to the car meets, right? Well, of course,
but it's not so that
people.
I
I
could
don't know if this is true, but
drive
there's
to
this saying
work.
that that this $250 million yacht paid for itself in a year. I don't know if that's true or not, but
Well, it could, bro. It could because like then all these people are like renting out the yacht. They're probably just
no, not
renting out
even
the
that
yacht
because
because
the point is the amount of business that they got. Not sorry, not through just renting it out.
oh
The amount of like deals that they
yeah,
made because of the sub. Which again, you're just relying always on the subconscious, which is the riz, as in like you're just more likely to close a deal if you're on the yacht. Like yo, if you pull up to my yacht, like we're gonna get you for a lower price because you feel like
dude.
you're a
If
fucking.
I was gonna invest in somebody, if I was gonna invest in somebody and they invited me to their yacht, I'd probably well depending on the person, right? Like if I thought they were wasting their money, yeah. But if I could see that they made money through another business, I'd be like, yeah, this person can make money. Maybe I should invest in them. And
But
that's
even more
that's
importantly, if you
again
were
like all
investing in
these like
someone and
psychology.
they saw your yacht, they'd be like, "Oh, look, I want to be like this guy." So that's why when
Yeah,
you see
and
that
then they'd
shit,
also be like,
yeah,
maybe I'll give him more equity, maybe I'll do all this. So it makes
yeah,
sense that it
that's
would it
that's
would
right.
buy
There's
itself
those
out.
little minute details, right?
So that's why all these people like try
It's
to
easier
leverage
to play
these other
yourself.
things.
We are lowering the bar to play. It's kind of like alcohol. We're making you think we're slowing your cognitive systems.
Yeah, yes. It literally is all just games,
It's
bro. It's
deception.
all
It's
just
it's
like
magic.
status
It's a magic
games.
trick.
It is
I'm
a
a
magic
magician.
trick, and nobody exactly,
Now
bro.
you
Like
own your
people.
company. Now you don't.
And that's why people who are like really, really like adverse to that are just don't understand the game. That's why they're not winning because they're like, oh, you shouldn't have that. Like you shouldn't have
Well,
that.
that's
So well,
right.
you
The
clearly
only
don't
way you
understand.
can hate a game is by not understanding it. That's the only way you can hate a game is by not
Exactly.
understanding it.
You just really don't understand because we're not that different from you. We're not that different from you, you
Okay,
hater,
okay, okay,
because
okay, okay,
we
okay,
still
okay,
have
okay.
all these.
Moving on.
We all have these, but it's right because we all have these like personal desires. We all are people. It's just a matter of like how do we actually curate these relationships. And once you're at the top of the game, time is very valuable, and that's the distinction. It's how much do you actually want to leverage your time. So now,
Mm-hmm.
so on to creating your personal brand. It brings me
Yes.
back to you know what do you want to be known for in the long term?
Mm.
And maybe to us, it's a really simple answer. But I think it's again like a question we've talked about before, but a question that I think deserves an answer because now it's like, do I want to go about it being hyper professional and or being quite opinionated, being a mix of both, being known as a creator, being known as an entertainer?
You don't want to be rigid. You don't want to be seen as rigid. That's
Exactly,
weird.
of course. You don't want to be seen you, and I mean at the end of the day, you never want to specialize. When you're a person, being known for one thing and being dependent on being known for one thing is the worst position you want to be in because you'll end up hating the thing that you're on. Like no matter what you love, if you're known for one thing and you're absolutely dependent on it as a personality to succeed in, for example, a Minecraft YouTuber, you'll end up hating it because you'll just
Oh, that's funny
like
because we've
once
seen
you
it play
start
out,
dying.
right? They couldn't transfer to Fortnite. They just couldn't, which is weird because it's like same
Exactly.
game,
Exactly. Once you can't transfer, like it's actually a shame, and that's
right?
why streamers are really good at that because, or like the best streamers were good at that because they ended up just changing their content
That's right.
because it was actually their personality was valuable, not their
Yeah,
skill, and
or
it goes
artists
back
who
to
grew up with their audience from the age of 9 to 20.
exactly. It goes back to how you produce your value. So. If your leverage is static and it's not transferable, or you don't decide to transfer it, you're going to end up being stuck in a position where you have to try to either change it up or maintain the status quo, and it inevitably will die out. So you have to be able to be very dynamic in how you express yourself. And so with that, it goes back to like what's a very dynamic thing as a person. What's something very dynamical about a personality? What's something that someone could change and be fluid in? Well, then, who exactly is dynamic that we observe right now? Like, who is
Yeah.
dynamic? Who do we know for multiple things?
Elon
Look at
Musk,
look at listen.
obviously. Um,
But is he? Is he though?
to be clear, there's really nobody who actually everybody cares about. It's very segmented.
Well, of course. But like, let's say like n equals three communities. I'd say actors. Jamie Foxx, I think, is a good, really good example because he's a musician. He's an entertainer. He's been in music. He's an actor, and he runs like a bunch of events and stuff. I forget what's like the third one, but he's an actor, musician, but he's also done a bunch of other stuff. And that's really cool of him. He runs parties as well. I think he manages a lot of parties and events. A lot of people say pull up the Jamie Foxx party, so and stuff like that. Like he's known in different communities and in very niche ones, in fact. And so that makes him
Yeah,
very
but
dynamic
I
in
will
the sense
point out
where
that
like he
I
provides.
like the name rings a bell, but like I'm not 100%.
Jamie Foxx. Oh, you know him. You know Jamie Foxx.
I'm sure I do,
He's in
but
Django Unchained. He's the main character of Django Unchained.
oh, okay.
You've seen him. He's in a lot of Kanye West songs.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I have seen
yeah, yeah.
the movie. I did not know he
And
was in
so
Kanye songs.
he's in a when he said Gold Digger when he goes she take my money when I'm
Oh,
in need. That's Jamie Foxx.
yeah, right.
So like
Oh, I
he's
love
had
that
a name
guy.
for himself.
Yeah, fuck with that
Exactly.
guy.
Like everybody fucks with that guy, and everybody in the industry. And he's a comedian. He's a comedian as well.
Okay,
Um, that's
there's a lot
he's a
going on.
comedian, a musician, and an actor. That's an entertainer. That's like a full personality, bro. Like if I saw Jamie Foxx, I'd be like, "Is
Yo,
that
but I
guy?"
would
I could know
also, but like at the
him.
same time, another person I would say is just like Freddie. Like I just fuck with Freddie. You know what I'm saying though? So it's like,
Yeah, you just fuck with his personality. But the thing is, that's
right,
because we just know him. How would we get to know him? That's the thing. Because the personality is one thing, and you
right.
can't really change it. It's how you get to
Basically,
know
it's
that. Why do you want to be known for?
some functions here are for one taking the time and trying to push it down because I've known Freddie since I was 6, so it's a matter of um taking those 13
So
years
it's
and
exposure.
how what
It's
are some
exposure.
yeah, well, yes, of course it's exposure, we've identified that, and now it's just a matter of what functions can push down the amount of time. Not there's touch points, yes, but there's also genuinely just like your brain needs to sit on things the same way that when you study for a test sometimes it's a matter of spreading it out, like same thing. How can you push down the amount of time? But again, I don't know how productive these conversations are. Like like are we like can you really capture everybody? Be so
Yes.
vague? Yeah, I answered that question right away when I said it. You can be vague. Okay, who else?
It
Uh,
depends. It
bro,
depends. Because
DJ Khaled.
I mean, yeah, DJ Khaled's a good example. He's funny. Like you know him across the
Bro,
internet.
no, but the thing is, everybody always says, what the fuck does DJ Khaled do on songs?
Oh, yeah, but everybody knows him.
So in that, but that's the
Yeah.
thing. He basically platforms himself through other artists, right? He just stamps his name on it. So it's kind of
Mhm.
oh,
It's what
you
you're
know who did
talking
this
about,
actually?
bro.
You know who you should study? You know who we should study? I will. What's it called? Fuck. There's this company who's like been just like buying up other content companies and just been like, and literally at the start of it, all the people who run it, they'll just say like, oh yeah, like we get paid by these people, and they just wanted us to tell you this, and then maybe you'll like buy some shit from them.
Disney?
It's HubSpot.
I've never heard of him. Sound like Disney to
So
me.
well, no, but Disney creates their own stuff. They don't like
Yeah,
try to. But yes,
but they also like
basically,
acquired.
basically.
They also acquired
Okay.
Marvel.
That's true. That's true. Interestingly, in some sense,
Star Wars.
You have we say that influencers are platforms. Now platforms can be big and small, right? The biggest platform is Disney, but Disney at this point, at some point, Disney I'm sure was connotated with Walt Disney, right? So people
Hmm.
like to abstract themselves away from the limelight as they get bigger and bigger and bigger. Um, so it's a matter of just reversing that, right? Like how can the human platform be like a Disney level platform? Like the point is like when like MSNBC and like some other media conglomerate like they're like competing against each other on like a very very like high stakes level, right? It's but how can I be like $1 billion platform? Like me, I'm $1 billion platform, as in like you know what I mean. There's also that aspect to it.
Hmm.
But going back to the people, yes, DJ Khaled, as in he stamps his name onto all this great music, and yeah, like I don't really know what he did. He just put his name on it. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and And yeah,
That's
like
interesting.
you
That's
see that,
interesting.
like for example, Michelin star restaurants, right? Like you just trust the restaurant right away.
That's interesting. So I think that's been an potentially that's been like an underlying thing that we've mentioned across this time, which is like trust, which is like credibility. That
Well, yeah,
goes a
there's,
long way.
but you can attach these characteristics are pretty simple though. Like you can attach. It's just a matter of communicating these characteristics and then being able to act as a platform in the right way, where
Yeah.
it's your face and get the leverage. Like all the characteristics, I mean, we know them. You can just search them, just search up good characteristics, right? Like
No, of course, of
you know,
course. You're
right?
right. You're
Like
right. It's communicating that credibility, and so which goes back to what leverage do
two
you want to
different
have?
people's mindsets. As in, you have
Hmm.
to everybody knows that Michelin star is trustworthy. So I guess in some senses, well, this is kind of obvious again. It's the matter of you have deeper subcultures. Sorry, deeper people who are deeper in subcultures have less reach, but deeper reach. So like for example, everybody knows that fuck. Everybody knows that Apple makes good computers, but nobody cares about them if Apple made like ketchup or whatever. Actually, maybe they would. It's just that good. But like for example, like Michelin star restaurants, they apply to restaurants, but they don't apply. Like if Michelin star started rating like fucking headphones, you would probably not care as much. However, where is the combination, right? It's
Hmm.
it's a matter of both. And the thing is, again, it's a matter of taking a human and using them while still remaining, while still applying the face and all these kind of human aspects. You have to control it with the sophistication and just with the competition a of one of these huge conglomerates. Because the thing is, I asked you, is it truly possible to apply to appeal to everybody? But the thing is, we know where this has happened in certain companies. Like for example, Google is a monopoly, you know, outside of like China and Russia, right? Or like oil companies, they're monopolies. But let's talk about brands. Like everybody knows Google. There's these brands that everybody knows in the capitalism world. So we've seen this happen, um, and Mr. Beast is probably one of the people who has really taken this all that far. So
But yeah, no, we should talk about it about personal brands as well. Like you're right. These big company brands are very interesting,
they're how
and
what is there any sort of monopolistic factors to a human?
yes, absolutely. Because I mean, like they're transferables. I mean, obviously they have the capital, but it's also like the credibility of their products and their quality of their products that just transfer over. But also the ecosystem, as in they create their own entire community within them, their monopolies, specifically these tech platforms, because you don't see it anywhere else. You don't see that anywhere else other than these big tech companies where they have
That's right.
like the reason for their leverage or their credibility is based on their leverage of quality products, and so that credibility is maintained through their production of better platforms for these people. I could imagine that before them there was like big companies that bought up a bunch of real estate, or like construction companies that also owned a
Yeah,
lot of real estate or owned apartment complexes that probably were known for the quality of this
your name's on every
dispersing.
apartment,
Exactly,
on every building.
exactly. So, or like big firms, like eight, like I guess like what was a good example of I'm trying to think of something like that, like firms, like big firms with big names. Like I mean, you could probably think of like a bank, like BlackRock or J.P. Morgan, that they also have to
Yeah,
happen to be invested in a lot of real estate as well. If you see that it's invested in real estate, it might be like a rich house or something that just got reacquired. And so on the same token, so what we observe in this case is that the transferability of their brand is evident in it's evident in the services they provide and the quality of that, which upscales their credibility, potentially. For the personal brand as well, it comes back to primarily transfer of information, um, or experiences. And I think we get
experiences.
into a
Yes.
very, but these are very specific. What I'm talking about is very specific ways as to how they acquired it. On the broad sense, it does stem back to experiences, and that's why those who have leveraged and continue to leverage experiences continue to proliferate in any environment, because once they give you considerable experiences across time, then you would tend to
Yeah.
trust them, and their credibility is
Absolutely.
substantiated by the
Absolutely.
experience that you have.
And this is why I would
So
love to
when we get into
see
personal brands,
somebody in. This is why I love to see somebody in all of these different, not mediums, same medium, but all of these, different individual, like in cross episodes. I would love to see cross episodes because the thing is, you mimic the experience in the person's head, right? That's right. Yes. If you can, like,
motive.
cause,
That's what it's
cause,
gonna be.
cause when you like, let's say you watch a vlog or whatever, right? If you see somebody if you see somebody in that experience creating a good experience, you can build up an understanding in your head of how it would be to hang out with that person without actually hanging out with them, you know? And then all of this is just hopefully you don't have
Or
any
better
cognitive
yet,
dissonance if you actually do hang out with them.
better yet, why do I even need to hang out with them when they're hanging out with somebody else who I relate to at some extent? So because of that, now it feels like I already hung out with them. I don't even need to see
That's right.
them because somebody hung out with them for me. They're literally outsourcing their experiences. That's what the entertainment industry has
That's
become
true
to
because
an extent.
because and in personal relationships there is always a stamp of credibility, right? It's like for example, if you introduce somebody to me, I'm just gonna assume that they're like a good person, whereas like, oh, or the thing is where you if you talk to somebody and you like don't really care and then like, oh, but like I'm friends with that guy, I'm like, oh, you know that guy, okay, say less, like we're boys. So that's
Exactly,
right, that
exactly.
that, that would play out on a and I swear we're
Absolutely.
not seeing
Like,
this happen. I don't think we're seeing this happen a lot for whatever reason. It might just be overlooked. Like we're not seeing people leverage cross episodes.
and that I think that's much more because of I think that's just because of how dependent they are on their specificity. Whereas people who are much more freer, freer, could extend their reach. For example, Elon is able to be his personality because he just has the money to do so. He's not dependent on his personality, but he also just doesn't give a fuck. But also you could see I mean I mean like what yeah, you're right.
But
What
again,
causes these people to be very
you're right though.
stingent in money?
It is their business. It's not stingy. They don't have any money. It is their business. They are in that particular niche entertainment. I mean, that's probably why they partly always default back to it. Even if I think about a very prolific star, let's say a musical artist who goes to um who there's always a matter of conversion, right? This is why we want to have high profitability in a separate industry. Fund this because an artist there's because otherwise you're always looking for the conversion, right? An artist who will go to do a cross episode somewhere else will just simply be looking to pull people back to their concerts, right? They're always defaulting to their own. You're right. It's why the fuck would they do that? This is cool as fuck for the viewer, but what does it do for them, right? And this is why whenever people link up, they're always talking about what is the split of the collaboration. You'll always see somebody go on one person's episode, and then after that, the person will go on their episode because it always has to be 50-50, right? However, if that's not a factor, you just want to be cool. You just want to live it up. Like you just want to be that guy, right? You just for the sake of it, because you're living life. Again, you don't need to have your own platform because you don't need a niche something. You
Yes,
just
yes,
appear,
yes.
and
Absolutely.
that literally means that you're not because the thing is people might become superstars and then try to um, become more and more and more vague, just like a founder who makes a lot of money and then becomes a VC. Then they try to become more and more vague. However, What if your niche is literally null? There's no value there, right? It's like
Master, master
there is
son.
no very very deep fan. There is not this hierarchy of people who know you on a more and more vague basis. There's no core fans because I'm not a core person,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm. I think that's interesting. I think that's really
There's no
interesting
niche.
because,
There's
yeah,
no niche
absolutely. And the
influencer.
reason why, absolutely, the reason why we're niching up is because of the market and in the current culture and
Right.
the current economic incentives require us to specialize because how else are we going to provide value at scale? We have limited time. But once scale becomes
It's the
much
broke
easier to
man's game.
acquire and efficiency, absolutely, absolutely. Once efficiency is outpaced, and again, back with AI, talking about how our scale is being much more empowered, I think that we see more and more with these more sophisticated systems that will end up seeing a lot of these people emerging. And I think a lot of people already identify that. I think like someone like Dan Coe, he's a new YouTuber, but he's talking about like philosophy and all that and whatever. But he's been talking about the personal brand. I think someone like him, and moreover, like even Iman Godzi or like these other motivational speakers, sure, they're capitalizing primarily on like their lifestyles, but what they identify really exquisitely is that these personal brands, they're getting a lot less specialized because they're leveraging themselves. And moreover, I think we're about to see actually a burst of these people because the culture is shifting from requiring us and actually having it be less beneficial for us to specialize because output is going to outpace it. And so the reason why we haven't seen it yet is because the market doesn't demand it. But more and more, I think we actually will end up seeing that. So potentially, we might see not in the too distant future that we will end up seeing a bunch of these people go from all these different communities and hop from place to place and actually teleport like those guys because they're now empowered to do so. And so that's the thing. It's like we got to be the first. We got to be the first to do that. Otherwise, somebody else is going to be
Yeah.
doing it better than us.
Right. So, I mean, we better start, reality TVing
Motive party.
the shit out of our lives ASAP, and that. But there's another thing that comes up here. First of all, I just want to say, literally everything that we're saying is like very, very fundamental
Oh yeah,
business, startup theory, which we already know about because we've studied the whole kind of Paul Graham, Y Combinator kind of startup strategy stuff, and we all know all about the niche, right? It's business 101 and it's marketing 101 as well.
absolutely.
So
It goes back to the point of literally just more and more treating your identity as a major entertainment conglomerate and applying the same rigor to it. And another thing, so I think about what are then the leverage points you create in order to make these things happen. Well, one thing is, because again, the individual platforms, and I'm not talking about technology companies, I'm talking about individuals. Those platforms, they just want some sort of incentive to let's say have you there, right? So it's like, for example, if we have like and you'll say at first, oh, this is nothing new, but then it does become something new. Like, for example, the party, right? If it's like a super clouded party and people just want to go there, then they come there, and then 1 week later we're on this person's platform who was there. 1 week later we're on this person's platform who's there. 1 week later we're on this person's platform who's there. And again, you might say nothing new, but at the same time, like, there just hasn't been all that many like high net worth business people who happen to want to be like very prolific in
They're not
society.
interested in that.
So
They don't need it.
they,
They don't
they,
need it. They're
they
not
typically
interested
don't
in
want
it.
that. They want to they want to have a quiet life. But as well, like, for example, you another kind of point of leverage is like you provide the experience, but then so for example, like, I think about like a lot of people, they will pay a lot of money in order to actually shoot their content, right? Like, so it's not even about incentivizing them on a personal level, like, oh, come, we got a fucking pool with like a lot of hot women here. Like, it's not about that. Actually, you right away provide them the for their business, the content, like for example, I don't know, they want to shoot some shit in the desert with like fucking ATVs or whatever, right? It's like, yo, like I'm going, ATVing, come and just shoot content, and then I happen to be doing it with you. So again, you're kind of, it's not about like giving them these personal incentives, which is this kind of played out thing that all of these VC funded and entertainment startups would do. It's about providing the actual like business leverage there for them to come in, and then we're also there doing it, and that could be that could be pretty relevant. And again, it's just never been applied at the scale that we're talking about, which is why I urge myself and you to get profits ASAP, because it just needs to be applied. It is, in some sense, it's very much a non-for-profit. I mean, it'll have tremendous, as we've talked about, it'll have tremendous returns, not only in today's world, but over 20 years, it'll have tremendous returns, not only in the context of today's world, but in the context of where it's the only leverage that exists because AI has squeezed out everything else. But at the start, it's a non-for-profit, so we do need to just be. We're like a record label giving advances, right? Except we're there, So it's both happened, but it's also it's a very like again, people just don't care enough.
So who do we want? So then, how do we make them care? Who do we want at Motive Live? How are they going to even want to come there? Who are we not letting in? Who's coming to Motive Live? Who's going to be on the podcast? Do they want to be on the podcast? Do they care about the podcast? Do they care about Motive? Are they supposed to care about Motive? What's the implications of actually filling this hole? How do we actually get about doing it? Well, for starters, I mean, who do we want in there? Potentially we want, perhaps we want to get some people who are maybe creators in the space, in the region. Maybe they're ambitious people. Maybe there's an application form. I don't really want that. I should just go about people that we know. Perhaps they're specialized people, niched out people, people in the area. Or it could be like upcoming creators, relevant people who are friends of friends.
Everyone.
Whoever we want.
Everyone is one of the, not whoever we want, everyone. Well, actually, yes, whoever we want, but everyone. That could be an answer. I'm also thinking back to, because the best way to facilitate this is if it can happen through a natural workflow, as in I'm already working on my own thing, and this happens to fit in. However, that's probably the most unlikely thing. But I'll say for one thing, look, if you're doing a business where you just happen to need to travel a lot, then right away it's the opportunities are coming in there. But again, it all relies on the businesses actually working in the first place. So yeah, you travel in right away. You're doing right away. You're doing whatever business you have to do in that city, and then after that you're linking up with
here's the question. Sure. Yeah, exactly, and that's the point I'm going to touch on right now. So, to a lot of these events, their might is as powerful as the people who attend them, or rather, it's the brand that provides the power. So, I think those are two very different things that could be the case for both. They're orthogonal; they could be specced out in both ways, or they could be absolutely zeroed out. And so, for us, how spec do we want it to be? Whereas, how could we both leverage Motive as a brand being extremely powerful in that the credibility establishes itself to attract more people? And then also, how can we ensure that the people who attend these events empower us? As in, if our basis... So, okay, let's say for a specific case, that
the social score will start to get built up on the Motive platform, which is sick because in some sense we were actually whipping back in the day when we were when we were talking about the app, we were basically talking about a social score. We
were, and that would be a really good way to solve it, because then it's like when you're networking, people's like, oh, what's your Motive score? They'd be like, oh, just a shy 2 billion. They're like,
the great thing is that it's a great input as well for AI to for the chatbots to like do different recommendations, right? Like, and then in that sense, you have now built up a data set which is very important to the whole equation. And you could even, bro, it's everything. You invest on people based on it. Like it makes it much more efficient. Rank my emails by who has the highest motive score. So
Oh, that's
so
fire, bro.
so
Human is gonna get
but the
acquired
point
real
is that but
quick.
the point is just like, yo, like we're coming in and right away we're seeing all these
Yeah.
people, and the next morning we can just debrief, like, and then
Mm-hmm.
afterwards we'll send them the report, and we'll see what
Yeah. No, we'll see them the recap, bro. We'll see them the memoir,
But
bro.
the thing is, it's funny
The
because
nostalgia.
you could have like, it'd be sick because then it's like you could have the relationship where let's, like, this is again just kind of an idea, not something that'll truly play out, but a reference point. You you have, because the thing is, it's all about bridging the gap between the video, sorry, the live recordings and the realness. So like one thing that sat in my head is like each event needs to have a kind of a split of people with cameras and people without cameras, right? Because it has to be real like that, and you have to build in the thing. And the interesting thing is, you might actually
Of
catch
course,
some
they'll love to
gems.
have the cameras on them.
Was that?
Of course, they'll love to have the cameras on them.
Oh, of course, of course. But the interesting thing is, you might actually find some gems in the dust. Like, what if somebody who is who is just there? No, I seriously mean this. Like you have people who are genuinely there just for the fun of it, for their life, and then also people there who are recording it, who are the platforms. You might even find some gems in I don't know what the fuck the saying is, but the point is that what if the community online just happened to love this human being who has no career in entertainment, and now it so happens to be that anybody who got discovered at that party is automatically entitled to signing with us. So,
Mm.
but the thing is that, okay, this is the reference point that I was talking about. It's, let's say the next morning you are on a live stream again with the kind of worldwide community, and you are rating people with their input. You're like, oh, okay, vote. Y'all like this person? Shit, yeah, I like this person too. And this is what would be super cool about the podcast. If you can in some way, like, for example, let's say we have the roundtable, right? There's like 6 people here, right? It's fucking fire. But then you need
Yeah,
interaction from the world. Like, what if somebody could like the thing is, this happens, right? Like at Q&As online, you would always have that people would put in their questions, but then the people would upvote the top question that would actually get asked to the person, right? So it's like the same thing. What if the most, and the thing is, this already happens, right? Like on Twitch and shit. But it's like increasingly with technologies, we could have it be even more of a kind of, like, what if you could, like, what if in the middle of the table we have obviously the 360 camera, but then if somebody gets upvoted, we would just have their hologram pull up, and if it's like a 24-hour event and they're close
I
enough,
was
we
just
could actually
thinking
flag them in.
that, bro.
What if we, okay, this would be so, because you know how like
I
people
was
like flag people in,
just
like,
thinking about
bro,
that, bro.
what if somebody is relevant enough in the chat or whatever that technology is, and it's like a 24-hour event or a 48-hour party where they're relevant enough, and if they're relevant enough in the chat, we actually say, bro, hop on the plane, and we just have that shit happen, and 5 hours later they're in the, and again, this is just bridging the gap between reality.
Yeah.
But again, John, this comes down to finances and hustle. Like, it's still the same thing, right? In terms of having it be, because obviously everybody's gonna try to copy it, because at the same time we're still just going extreme but on the same linear. So but because we fucking, this is so sick, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, bro, and it's like the fucking, and the thing is, then the whole thing is recorded as they're hopping on the plane. It's recorded. The plane has the fucking word motive plastered all over it, right? Their whole thing while they're in the jet. Then they come in, and it's like, again, like literally 5 hours. The person who was watching it 5 hours ago, they saw them on the fucking chat, and then we could literally be. The thing is, you see this on like reality TV shows where they're like finding like the next star or whatever, where they will like recap. They'll like, after like they kind of, at the end of their journey, they'll like go back to the start of them and be like how they just started up. So we could really be like, yo, okay, so 5 hours ago, if y'all weren't here, this guy said this, and then he said this, and then he said this, and now after all this time, he is here in real life.
That's crazy, bro.
So
we put out like multiple parties all on the same day across the world. We fly them out after we think the coolest people are there, bro.
That's right. We literally have people in there who are, locally scheming, and then we have bro, that's so dope. That's so fucking dope.
Then they come back to San Fran, or sorry, they come back to
And then
Dubai, where
you're a fucking software
headquarters are.
engineer. We'll hire you. That's crazy, bro.
Woohoo! They're talking about
Your dad's an investor. Oh shit. Okay. What's his number?
bro, we're like sitting in the round table talking. We have a live feed of like in front of us. We have a live feed of the parties going on across the world. Camera 5, all around the world, bro.
Saying,
We see
bro.
all this shit. We're like, this guy's a player. We pull his hologram out. The cameras triangulate his position, create a 3D render of
Bro.
him while he's moving.
Bro,
We say, "Yo, what's up, Kyle? We see you." He turns on. What's going on? We get an interface. He's like, "What's up? We're flying you out."
Hunger Games shit. Because the thing is, it's an opportunity to increase your motive score by 10x. Right now, during this hour, we're giving you the opportunity to increase your motive score by 10x, 100x, bro. Like, yo, it'd be so sick, right? Like,
Yo, and that just makes it so that like, bro, like this motive, which has always been that way. Like we always talk about like I remember you saying like this is not viable. That's not, we can't make an MVP. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, and that's perfect because this requires so many intricate puzzle pieces. But when it's set in motion, it will be so big. And bro, I'm just so excited.
and you're
for
right.
when
We will buy up
someone
the real
comes
estate
over-
because we'll be the only company that or like the kind of, we will be the business model that actually requires it, that can put it to use, to good use. And again, as you talked about, all this AI wiped out all the companies. Oh, sorry, all the companies out of the real estate, right? However, at the same time, it has prioritized entertainment as being basically the only relevant thing in humanity. And now, by that trend, we are fulfilling all of this real estate through the entertainment, and it gives you some sense of ownership of the land as well. And the great thing is like, for example, the next one, you're now, it's like, because if we're really hustling on this, as we obviously are, then it's eternal, right? It's a legacy brand, which is great because in kind of the same philosophy of NFTs for entertainment purposes, your motive score will, like, for example, when the next party comes around, if you're in the chat and you need to get up there, your motive score plays into that equation as well, right? Like, because not because of some petty reason, just because it
gotta have
shows
credibility,
that you might,
bro.
right? It shows the credibility. So yeah, and in some ways, this is great because now you're building up currency. If it's that kind of wide spanning, you're building up currency, which is fucking incredible.
Can you spend motive coin? Can you spend it? Can you spend motivation?
Yo, in a way, we position in a way where the SEC is not. No, sorry, you're Senator. I understand the question, but this is not how the motive coin works. Just to be clear.
Of course. You can't buy Bitcoin with it. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, I'm sorry.
You're not gonna trade Pokemon.
Oh, they transacted. Sorry, I don't know how that transaction happened. I wasn't part of that. That was
Listen. I exited. SBF was trying to do something with us after he got out of jail. We said no. We told him go back to the Bahamas. We don't need it. It's a universal metric of your quality as a person. That's why SBF has
Sam Bankman-Fried with motive coin gone wrong, not clickbait.
Exit scamming Sam Bankman-Fried with motive coin.
Yo, okay. Calling up my top VC and telling them that all of my money was in SVB as a prank.
Gone wrong. Gone
wrong.
Political.
He committed suicide. He sold his house to a company which happened to be owned by me, and now I got his house because I fucking hate that VC.
Telling JP Morgan that I'm taking all of my billions of deposits out. Gone wrong. Motive bank? Question mark. New motive bank. Acquired.
Yo, the question is,
funny
Motive
shit in
Bank
business, bro.
Bro, there's like a ton of like deposits and shit in it. Motive Bank defaulted? Question mark. Everybody watches the video. Hey guys, so this is a prank. Your funds are okay. However, we did want to tell you about our new website that we're sponsoring.
It's thefabio178.org. Nonprofit. We're here to tell you to get young gamers out of the rut, out of the hood. So anyways, thanks guys. That's all the video we had today. Bro,
Uh,
I don't know
I
why we don't do funny. I don't know why business hasn't incorporated funny shit into the TikToks, bro, or like into their content. Like, why is there no why is there no like CEO boxing fights? Like,
Bro, that's what I was
why
thinking.
did,
If I would be the CEO of Apple, I would talk so much shit about Android.
yes,
Like I would generally be about that. I'd be like, yo, like I would do like a YouTube video where I'd be like, it's like sarcasm. I'm like unboxing like the new Google Pixel. I'm like, this phone is so shit.
look at this shit. Pull out your new iPhone. Look at this. 4 cameras. They copied my shit.
But
That's
the thing is,
me, big boy, Steve Jobs.
one
That's
thing is
how it gotta be, bro.
Steve Jobs was like Loki did that. You know, he one time said that we don't make trash, referring to Microsoft. But then Conor McGregor is really the guy who implemented this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like he was the guy who started talking shit about
Mm.
other people. And if I was if I was in competition, which is unlikely because we include monopolistic features from the get go, but let's
Oh,
say
of
that
course.
by some kind of work of God, I happen to be in competition with some company. I'd be talking smack, not even about the product, about the CEO. Like we might be friends on the low, but
He's
like
a.
I'd be like, that guy's a bitch. That
Who is that? Who is
did
he?
you
I don't know who he
that guy?
is.
What college did you go to, bro? Oh, you didn't go to Harvard? Oh, okay. Right. What's your comp?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but the thing is, the funniest thing is, bro,
You,
because
you
again, we're talking.
didn't drop out. You went to university. Look at this guy.
You're 50 years of age. But the funny thing is,
This guy
you
likes
know what,
nepotism.
bro? But you know what's a crazy scenario? Because we talked about how do we bring the senators, like the kind of old money, high class people onto the platform. What if VCs started watching these YouTube videos? Like what if like investors? Because things that we know, like there's already
What if
structure
that's
boards.
the only way they get to know about our payroll, about our business insider shit? We tell them on the
Right,
videos.
right. It's through the
They're like, yo,
videos.
what do you do with your business? I don't know. Watch motvpod. Like, yeah, you could
That's
have been
true.
known this.
That's true. So if
You want equity, bro? Watch the last podcast.
that's
Watch
actually so
podcast 16.
because it's kind of like back when I used to have this problem where I would have to like use Instagram DMs, but I would always have to go through the feed, and it's the same because for a private company, that's completely legitimate. You just drop you drop tidbits throughout a fucking 24-hour live stream. You don't have to watch the whole thing, and during it, we're like beefing the sea. But the thing is, we know institutional investors like that's a stretch. We know that they still are affected by this shit.
Oh
It's
yeah.
just a little bit more high level. However, the Robinhood motherfuckers, the consumer investors, bro, they would literally be in Wall Street bets talking about, oh, this CEO talked this shit. Like that's some crazy ass gossip shit. You know what I'm
Bro,
saying?
imagine, bro. We're doing Motive Live. We're chilling, bro. It's on a Sunday. It's just regular Motive, okay? We're just chilling, bro. We're talking shit. We get an email to us. It's like they want to invest. We just say, yo, tune into the live stream, and then we get a big letter, bro. They send it like, oh, we want to invest. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? We don't do it this way. You know what? Come here, bro. Do a challenge, and if you win, we'll give you 4% of our company if you invest $18 billion. That's how it gotta be, bro. We fly them out. Imagine, bro. We just get an email. They're like, "Oh, we would like to invest in your company. We see big potential." Be like, "Nah, fuck that shit, bro. Pull up Motive Live right now, bro. Do a challenge for us. If you lose, maybe we'll give you two
Bro,
percent. Maybe."
I'll put them on. I'll be like, okay, join the meeting, right? Then they join the meeting, and it's like my primary investor there because I already told him to link up, and he's like, oh, I'm like, yeah. So this guy says he wants to dilute your equity. What you got to say about that? Oh shit! This could be
Oh,
entertaining
shit.
content for like the working professional class.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Damn,
It's
what's going on,
you dramatize the fuck out of it, bro. That's crazy.
bro?"
And we
You know
weren't
what
gonna let you,
though?
and Loki, we weren't gonna let them invest in the first place.
Imagine, bro. It's like, yo, right now we have them skiing. It's a ski race challenge, bro. Whoever can do it, French fry with one ski wins. We go to the camera, bro. But they ain't getting no equity, bro. We ain't invested. Turns out we already sold all our shares to
That's right.
OpenAI.
That's not. We already sold. That's the thing. We already sold the company.
We already sold their shares.
We already sold the company.
I already sold their shares so I could buy a yacht. I already sold their shares so I could buy three Bugattis. My bad. My bad. Prank gone wrong, bro. It was a social experiment,
They
bro.
get
It was a
so
social
mad, bro. They
experiment.
punch you, bro. Then It leads to a whole thing. Punched by
Lawsuit!
investors.
Let's lawsuit!
Lawsuit.
Oh, he punched me! God illegal! God illegal! Yo!
I have to get
Dude, this
Sammy the
transcends
lawyer,
that.
bro. Get Sammy in this
Bro,
bitch.
we gotta get Camilla, bro. We gotta get Johnny Depp's lawyer, bro. We
No.
gotta get the law up in here, man. It's a big beef thing now. Yo, that's the craziest thing. That's like the first instance that we saw like the most publicized like I guess like professional circumstance that I've
It's just a
ever seen,
trend.
bro.
But it's just a trend towards it.
And it was so funny
Bro,
though. Like that case was so funny. Like it was
yo,
actually
but you know what?
insane.
No, you know what, John? It happened again. Because, dude, this guy. I'm actually gonna create posters just of people business people going to Congress. You know that picture when have you ever seen that when a business person testifies in front of Congress? That photo
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
top up with all of the cameras in their face and it's like super high quality.
And all the
Yo,
microphones and everything
that's
right
right.
beside them.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
want to
I've
just
seen
create
that.
posters of those because
Yo, TikTok just did that.
that's such a fire photo, bro. That shit was fucking. There were so many TikToks on
Dude,
that shit. That shit was funny.
yo,
This guy, bro, I love this guy so much. He's
yo,
so
he was
sick.
so freaking funny,
He's
bro.
so
He
funny.
was so funny. Yo, what if that was our goal, bro? To testify in front of Congress.
Oh,
They're
that's
like,
been my
you want
goal,
to do us
bro.
some?
Yo, when I do that, bro, that vlog is gonna be that Instagram post is gonna be crazy. I remember like, what'd you do today?
Yo, yeah, imagine the post game interview, bro,
The post
on
game.
your main channel, bro. You got 1 billion views, bro. They're like, yo, what'd you just do? You just testified in Congress, bro. What happened? I'm like, yo, they were
Shit,
cheese
bro.
because I was taking all their jobs, automating their data. But here's what I
Yo,
had to say, bro. Listen, you guys just keep hiring idiots. I'm gonna have to replace them to give them top G shit. They don't get it, bro. And moreover, they're just mad that they weren't invited to Motive Live.
all right.
They're just cheese.
If you want the
And that's
full
just how.
breakdown, go. But the thing is, you won't believe what happened at the end when he asked this one question. Go to my second
Oh,
channel to see that. It's on my Patreon.
real.
Okay, the thing is, Elon
One
Musk
thing the camera's
set
getting
the
cracked,
foundation for all
bro.
this. By the way, Elon Musk set the
Yo, shout
foundation
out
for
to
all
him,
of this.
bro.
Like he's like the
He did,
original
he
guy
did.
who did
He
all this
did,
stuff.
bro. He was the first one. He went to Joe Rogan and he smoked that blunt and it was over from
It
there,
was over
bro.
from there,
It was
dude. That shit.
over
The
from
thing
there,
is,
bro.
again, like with all this, the excitement right now in tech is, man. There's so much shit going on. So much. The excitement is back. It hasn't been around for a while. Like I don't care about fucking Airbnb IPOing. Okay, and it
I
brings
don't care
back
about
to
Stripe
we just
IPOing.
have to.
I don't
That's what
care.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I don't care that your fucking money is tied up in private equity. I don't give a shit. Um, but like Microsoft, fucking Microsoft battling Google for like the best fucking chat system. That's dope. And the thing is, with all this happening,
Dope.
we just got to take a look back at the legacy, bro. I remember exactly what I was doing the first time Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan. I was literally
Mm,
I remember the exact spot I was in my house. I was filing together papers for a paper route, and I just like saw this, and it was like
really?
2.5 hours or whatever, and I just watched it, and that shit was so dope. I remember that moment so well. That was a huge moment, and going back to like back when like iPhone releases were so sick, dude. AI releases now are so sick, and
Mm.
soon
No,
Modi
yeah. What
releases,
were you
bro.
doing when you
We've
first
been
heard about ChatGPT, bro? What was the first thing you? What were you doing that when you heard about ChatGPT?
when I first
I
heard
remember.
about it,
Now, when you well, yeah, when
when
you
I
first
first used it, when I first used
really
it.
when you first knew about it, not when you
Mm-hmm.
heard about it, when you knew about it, when you knew what it was about, bro. I think I was like studying. Oh no, bro. I think I might have been in my machine learning class and I saw it, bro, and I remember I physically I think I played with it because I was on the wait list, right? So like I had access to a lot of AI stuff early on. And it was also like I was just chilling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, no, that was not this. This was a different time. I wasn't even this was first semester, bro. Yo, that's crazy, bro. I think it was during the break. It might have been, bro. I swear to God, during the break, I swear I was
Yeah, I
like
think so.
staying up late at night, and bro, we heard about it, and I think, yo, what if I pull up my first OpenAI conversation? I think I
Mm.
asked it like philosophical questions. Oh yeah, bro. I was trying to like code something, and I wanted to see if it could like give me some good advice, and yo, that's crazy, bro. My first conversation is here. Oh, that's insane, bro. Let me stream this live, bro. I remember now. Bro. It might have been after one of our podcasts, bro. I think it might have been. Let's share my screen right now. So, okay, whatever. So, this is the first conversation I had with ChatGPT. I am a first year university student. I believe I have 7 years to break into the AI business as an entrepreneur and business magnet. How can I best grow myself, my network, to establish myself in the startup world by creating a high value startup? And wow, bro. Yeah, I remember this, bro. I remember I was grinding, bro. It might have been like literally immediately after um we talked about like this, and I think I found out about it not too long after one of our chats. And this is basically what it said, bro. And I actually followed by it. I think I wrote it in my Notion. Learn as much as you can about AI and its applications. Build your technical skills. Network with people. Be proactive and create value. And I think like
Hmm.
this is actually pretty
Interesting
good
where those
advice.
yearly
And
goals came from, bro.
yeah, right. And I
It seems a little
established it.
similar, bro.
Seems a
It
little
truly was.
derivative.
We talk about there's a few of those O moments. What I think you had like two. I know one of them, and then I forget the other one. But you know what I'm talking about, the oh these
Yeah.
the first time I used ChatGPT, that was bro. That like my mouth actually dropped. Not because it was sick, but I'm just like it felt like things are changing. It felt
Yeah.
like
Yes, bro.
because I remember back when Siri was like first around, like it was cool, and I was like wow, like this is really cool. But the thing is, we there's been so many like exciting kind of technologies with like so many startups over the past few years. Block. The thing is, in my view, in my world, like AI was around, and then it kind of stopped being as relevant uh, during the whole blockchain craze, and then there was a lot of like biotech craze and this stuff, and those things are still relevant. But bro, it's just I just remember using it, and I was just like, I was like, I was just like, oh, like shit, like it's happening, like it is fucking happening
Yeah.
right now, like it's
Yeah,
over,
bro.
like the world is getting automated, it's over, like bro, it's truly it was actually probably what it actually the first time you use ChatGPT has might just go down as like one of the most monumental moments in one's life, like in retrospect, because
Yeah.
you truly are
That's interesting.
like wait a minute. And the thing is, a lot of people still have not used it. They know about it, but like they
Yeah.
know about it,
That's the
but
thing,
like they
bro.
haven't used it. Like you have to use it. Like it's like,
You have to, bro.
bro. Again, I canceled Apple Music. I'm probably in the process of canceling like other Apple subscriptions to transfer that money into a fucking Microsoft product. And again, like if it wasn't available, if all these features, literally they might not be. Like if all these features are not available on Mac, like the whole suite of Microsoft Copilot tools with Microsoft Loop, like if that stuff is like half-assed on Mac, or if I have to use fucking Safari, like it's over, bro. Like
Well, I mean, like I feel like most people still use Mac anyway. But you're right. Like if
that's
the
why they won't
environment
release
is
it
not
inevitably,
there,
because Apple won't have it, as they won't release it. But like, dude, like this shit again. That there hasn't been a moment like this
absolutely not.
for a
The
while.
leverage is insane.
Like
The
this is
leverage is
insane. Like
absolutely
this is so
insane.
fucking sick. This is so fucking
Also,
sick.
by the way, bro, this thing is texting live of incredible things right now, bro. Like just live, bro. ChatGPT 4. I bought the plus version because I was
Oh
so
right, this
interested
is
in
GPT
how
plus.
it worked. Yeah, this is
Does it do
4,
does it
bro.
do visuals?
Not yet, I don't think.
There's no
Like that's
visuals.
on the wait list, but
Okay.
it'll be soon, bro. And also soon, they're adding plugins as well, which is crazy. Like
There's no
Wolfram
plugins,
Alpha plugin. Not yet, but they're coming. I just joined the
bro.
wait list.
Okay, okay.
But I mean,
Um,
obviously, like they're just testing it out. But like they iterate so fast. Like next week we'll probably see plugins.
the interesting
Even
is
2 weeks.
this is the first time when, rather than a company saying more than it has, or releasing more than it actually has,
you know full well that every time they release something, it's a tiny fraction of what's actually in.
They finished this in August,
It's right.
like
So
GPT-4.
so for the first time, every time that it's like they release something, you know that it's a half-assed version of what's actually available. So
So, and that's the
it's
most
a crazy
terrifying
time.
part about it, bro. Because what do they have? And I went through I briefly went through their technical report. I wish I read it all, but I just ended up watching Eden Meyer, great YouTuber on AI research papers, who broke it down. And the stuff that they were talking about and all of the experiments that they ran with it were just so mind-boggling. And the fact that they're starting already with this is just so much more evident of the fact that we don't know what they're doing and they're capable of so much more, like 20x what we see. And for example, there was a clause in in the research paper where it literally said we let it, like they let it connect to the internet. It tried to connect to the internet. It tried to break free, and we had to kill that shit. They just subtly
Oh,
mentioned that at the
yeah,
bottom,
yeah, yeah.
like the
I
30th
was reading an
page.
article today about how there's actually when they think about like doomsday scenarios, how they I think I'm pretty sure they listed out like three occurrences recorded by researchers when on basically exactly kind of the kind of systematic method that researchers kind of philosophize about AI uh, annihilating humans in order to achieve its goal that it was set out by humans. How like three different instances when this just occurred on a smaller scale when they saw it trying to essentially do things that were very much not intended in order to achieve what was intended.
Yeah, yes, bro. And it's and they're just like they're doing so many of these different experiments all at once, and we see that more and more, and it's going to outcompete literally everything that we have right now. And that's why it's like, am I trying to like what's my game here? Am I trying to get into OpenAI? And honestly, bro, like I think I go back to, as we talked about, putting yourself in best positions. I should be in a position where I could choose so if it actually
Exactly,
required to be that
exactly.
way. So
You are building up your your own equity in an organization or organizations,
mhm.
but at the same time, you could snap right into them potentially through an acquisition,
Yes,
if
exactly.
not through a job application. And that's one of the issue with entrepreneurship is the self reliance on discipline. It's not with the lack of transferability. If you actually apply yourself and if you actually apply yourself, whether you know luck turns out your way or not, as in like pure success, if you actually have success on the input, that's completely transferable to a job the same way that a resume is. The issue is not in that. The
Yeah,
issue is in
yeah.
the in lack of input because there's like lack of support around you. So as you
hmm
said, yeah, like
It goes back to
like,
like
like
the
for me, I
principal
should be able to
concept,
get a
which is
job
like
right away.
credibility. Yeah, yeah. Honestly, based on our personality and
No,
our
on your
credibility,
work,
like
because the the same way that everybody who
oh,
fails
of
at
course, of course.
startups just goes and becomes works at Microsoft or whatever, because they've built up those valuable managerial or even technical skills, and demonstrated them through working on their startup. But you have to be
hmm
legit about it, right? You have to be able to have people to reference you, whether that's like a venture capitalist who can reference like, yeah, like they actually did put in the work, it was just luck, or something like this, uh, or other employees who already in your startup who had already these connections. So yeah, bro, we're doing that shit. Let's wrap
Yes,
up
bro. We
around
have
this
to,
time.
man. Like there's so much in action, frankly, and there's so many things to do. And like honestly, I've been taking notes about like for days and for all the podcasts, bro. Like I always reflect on what we do, and it comes back to the same things where it's like, which is really good because honestly, I'm glad that we reiterate because inevitably the goals that we make are attained. The goals that I've made a long time ago still were like it's like things that I plan to happen in July have been happening serendipitously, and it's crazy to think that like that for one I should have been doing it a long time ago, but also that inevitably it's going to happen. So we have to really get the hustle in and scale it down, or shrink it down so that the process is far more iterative and that we get to these high positions. And so like man, like honestly, bro, we just need to get it. We just need to get the bag, and we need to fucking grind. And I'm just so excited of what's about to come. Time is becoming a lot more free. This summer, as we said before, is going to be the most pivotal moments for the rest of our career. And man, I'm just super excited, bro. Like, I'm super excited to get to work. I'm super excited for the snow to melt, the sun to be out, for me to get going and meeting all these professors, all these people, potentially going to San Fran, seeing how that would go. I would
Yes,
love to go to San
yes.
Francisco this summer. But yeah, bro, like we're on here, bro. Like this guy, this buddy, ChatGPT 4 had look at this like probably 500 character, 500 token output outlining exactly how it could be that AI could develop. And honestly, like this could go as in depth as you want.
That's
And
right.
like I mean, this stuff is getting iterated so fast. This was ready in August. We need stuff to be ready now. We need stuff to be ready and to pre-planned. We need to get a position like these guys where it's not a matter of survival, it's a matter of how do we play the game in our position. And so with what
We
we
should
know
have had
now,
access to the betas, to private betas by now. Like that should have been the position. That's the ideal
we
position to
should
be.
have been we should have been sent it to them voluntarily by them because they're like, check it
That's right.
out. Maybe
Let's
you'll
try it
learn
out.
from
Yeah,
us.
yeah, yeah. Give
Absolutely.
give me your
So,
feedback.
you know, at the end of the day,
How can
we're
algo
we
play into this? Where's the algo plugin?
how can algo? Yo,
Please,
that's the thing. How
please,
can
please have it
algo
ready at
into
launch.
this? Absolutely, bro. I should have it ready at launch. I mean, like it could be a chat information. It honestly would be a ChatGPT plugin for algo. That's what it'd be. It'd be like an API for that.
Mm.
That's because frankly, like when I'm automating this stuff, they don't need to hear some shoddy talking to them in their ear. What they need is that they get their stuff done, and I record all their data. Um, and so that's also a big thing, right? Like I'm so excited for algo, and I can't wait to continue actually grinding on it because it's gonna inevitably be a B2B a data collection company where I go into these businesses and I automate their entire workflow and then pump my stuff out of there and then learn how to make better models through that. And like people are like people are focused on the language models and that's great, but I mean like there's such a big hole. Like there's more and more focus towards AI, more and more focus towards data, and it's just going to be a matter of how and who can collect the best data at the fastest manner and the most efficient manner to get the most information and to actually extract automation at scale. And so, the next companies, the next big startups will be companies that actually integrate that into different things, and that's why I see value in Algo as a startup because it's primarily just oriented towards collecting data intra versus extra. So, and like honestly, for Algo, I honestly the only thing I can say about it is that I need to work on it. I need to start grinding it because we'll never see its value proposition until we actually get feedback from the users. I have to get the MVP out there. I have to iterate quickly, and I have to be able to do it efficiently. And that's going to take some genuine software engineering skills. Perhaps I'll use ChatGPT. I think that'll be very fun. First startup funded and created by ChatGPT. Um,
They'll spin that
but
article.
like I'm really like interested in try to build something and like a minimal viable product with the least amount of um investment. I want it to be I honestly just want to be the only person who makes
Well, you
it.
want to retain the
I
equity,
feel
yeah.
like
That's right.
not even for that. Like if I need to, I'd obviously get people, but I feel like it'd be so dope to actually like live in full that that self
Solopreneur.
automation life. Exactly. Not even solopreneur, solo CEO, solo multinational corporation. Like if it's gonna progress towards the death of the corporate ladder, I might as well kill it off in my company because that's my whole goal, right? I have to
Mm.
prove that it works
When you said this is
internally.
the death of the corporate ladder, you weren't predicting a trend. You were stating that you would create it.
Oh,
Yeah.
of course. That's how we gotta be. That's how I have to show them that it can be done. I have to show them that this is the new wave. And so, you know, like it's just such an exciting time, and it's such a nerve-wracking time, and I like, like it's like when you're driving a car, you don't feel it when you're already driving at top speeds, but you definitely feel the acceleration. And right now, I feel the acceleration, and I just want to feel it even more. I'm excited to be in this position, and I can't wait to iterate more and more. And I can't wait to get into the industry and break out and truly build my personal brand, but also build connections and experiences with these people because they just deserve to have their times be
That's right.
freed,
Yeah,
and I
like the
deserve
same way that we
to.
have to bring these products to life, just because who else will? It's like, yeah,
They
like
need it.
we just have to make it happen. It's such a beautiful end game.
Absolutely. And it's just
Like
like,
how could we not, bro? There's no way that we can let these human imperfections stop uh, these outcomes from occurring. There's they just have to be fixed. They have to be mended immediately. And
the thing is, we can't even think of them as imperfections anymore. We have to leverage them. We have to just align ourselves.
right.
Naval said, he had a great tweet today where he said the alignment problem with AGI is impossible to talk about because we can't even align the people who build them. And that's a great point.
Mm,
And so, how could you expect to align your environment nor the people around you if you can't even align yourselves to your own prerogatives?
right.
So, as it always has been, the primary goal is to better ourselves so we can be the best of the best and truly encapsulate innovation as humanity wills it to be so. And so, for that, Habibi, I'm ready to cut. I need to go prepare and grind and write down, um, actually finish my research project. But you know what, bro? On a side thing, like,
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
dude, where are we gonna live, man? I've been thinking about it so much. Where are we trying to go?
Like short term or long term?
We're living together, bro. Where are we
Okay, so
living?
I'm coming to Ottawa in 4 weeks. You need to just come to my house and bring your shit. And I mean, yeah, like you can sleep there often,
Oh yeah.
right? And then we just do that. We go for runs in the morning once in a while. Go.
Oh, that'd be crazy, bro. Yo, train for soccer as well. We better be
Right.
training.
Yo, but like from now on, like it's tight like that. Like
Yeah,
uh,
has to.
we'll eventually
Absolutely.
we'll eventually get our own place. But for the time being, just come live with me in my house.
Mhm.
The way it should have been from the motive days, in the very start. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for
like
sure, bro.
that's yeah, like bro, this is such a productive relationship at this point. Like we just gotta make it happen like that. Like, it's gotta be tight like that.
Oh, of course, of course, of
So
course. We have to build the that
so
little startup.
yeah, I mean, yo, I, for me, like with the posters, I want to position them. I think that potentially a position that could work for schools is to do like fundraisers for clubs, like whether they're fundraising money for their own club or whether they're doing like a charity event, like think about like Key Club, they just do charity events, right? So that obviously schools won't let any sort of like profiting business come and sell shit with them,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
a
that
club
makes sense.
could allow that infiltration. So I mean, I haven't validated with anybody from SRB yet, but I will in the coming weeks. And if that's a go, then I mean, it it could be like you can think about this yourself because you'll probably help me with this in the moment. Like
Mhm.
like for example,
Oh, of course.
let's say that you sell 100 posters at a school and at
Mhm.
an average profit of $8, and then you give, let's say that you give half of it to the club that hosted you. That's $400 in profit. So let's just call that a net income. So then, I mean, I for me, like I'm still committed to making 100K by the end of the year,
Oh, same, bro. Same.
right? So that's my goal. So for me, I'm thinking like, damn, like I want to shave off 10 from high schools. So I mean, 10K divided by like 400 is 25 schools. So I mean that's fat, but again, like it'll just come down to whether they're about it or not. Like SRB will obviously be kind of the first point of contact. The other schools are. The point is, there's just not much
100 posts.
validation here. But also, 100 is I don't know. It might be a low ball. It might be a low ball because
We'll have to iterate. Like, we'll have to put in practice.
So, but the point is, like, I can't say much. We just have to go off of this. There's no secured line of finances for a house right now, especially because my priorities as well are a vehicle for September, which is when I'm going to make the bulk of the 100K to get around, because the more I can get around, the more I can sell. And also it's funding my next business, which will probably be like centered around potentially childcare, or some sort of merchandising maybe. So it's like, even for myself, like I'm not really necessarily looking to, like I don't even necessarily myself can't really say with certainty that I'll be able to afford my own place in September just for myself, like even with other roommates. So it's like we can't go there. However, I will say that what we can bet on is just you and I living together in my house. Like, that will right away create a shit ton of efficiency, and we can go off of that. And as long as we just continue with the mindset of the kind of signal filtering, losses are zeroed and wins are won, as in like when you lose, you just don't see it. You're kind of just like a dog chasing a bone, and it's like nothing else really matters. Like eventually we'll just get to the point where we can afford our own place, and here we are. And it's like, it's
little shit will be absolutely corrected once we keep ourselves accountable. Because
that's right.
If you're right in front of me and I see you do some bullshit, and the same thing for me, if you see me do some bullshit, you'll call me out on it. If we're about to go for a run and you say, "Oh, I woke up late, I'm taking a shower," I'm gonna be like, "I'm already at Bruce Pitt, buddy."
That's right.
You need to catch up.
So yeah, like I'm sorry to say that, at the very least for myself, like I'm sorry to say that.
I was just asking where. The timeline is nothing. I'm actually just curious about where. That's actually what I'm curious about.
Okay, so
the timeline and the actual intricacies, we'll figure that out. But I actually do want to know where.
Okay, for me,
it's not Ottawa.
This is something that I want to talk to you about, actually, in terms of reframing my goals, because we didn't get to it, but I guess now is the time to make sense. We know that, and so I'll go a little bit off topic here. So basically, we know that the sole thing that dictates success is committing to one goal for a prolonged period of time. We know this from references and from our own personal experience. The perfect example is Motive. I decided to stop working on Motive about like 2 months into the year, I think, the year that we were working, whether it's like 2019, 2020, or whatever, to start doing like artificial intelligence in the music industry. And a big part of why I wanted to move to Los Angeles was to be within that industry. I also just want to live there because of the amenities. However, the issue is that it's like in this moment in my life and for potentially many decades forward, but especially until I have a very, very high net worth, it's like there is no living to be done. So I have to default to just what is the best place for my industry. And I'm no longer super interested in going to music right now. I've kind of lost like the personal propensity towards it, but it's also not really profitable. So yeah, like the thing is,
be careful with that. Be careful with that.
I know grass is greener.
Don't elude yourself. No. I'm saying don't elude yourself with the profits again. As in, I remember you said to me before that you wanted to be a software engineer because you thought it would be the most profitable thing. You dropped out of comp sci because you wanted to be a businessman and you wanted to be a manager. I know it's not profitable, or may not seem as profitable, or may not seem as scalable, but I'm not saying you have to do music. I'm just saying, remind yourself and be aware of the reasons why you've done some things in the past, just so that you can continue to do that. And the reason I say that is because, like you mentioned, you wanted to go into childcare. What I suggest from that is that, from a friend, bro. Like I never heard that you wanted to be that. I'm just worried that you're gonna do something like that because you think it's profitable. because you think it's profitable. I'm just saying, be
That's a big part
self-aware,
of it.
man. Do you actually care about it? Is all I'm saying. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying with all
Of
these
course, of
things,
course. I
remind
respect that.
yourself.
You don't have to preface yourself. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
But either way, like I personally, either way, like the hustle is just not there. So that's that
Yeah, that's
with music, right? So it might just be null. I mean, to your point, it might just be null. But it's not music. So the point is that I'm not striving to move to LA right now just because it's like, what the fuck would I do? Like it, I don't have the facilities to go there and just like you use the city to like what I would previously want to. So it's like
you can't take advantage of it. Is
there
the
is no
fact that
advantage
you
to be
can't
taken.
take advantage of it? There you go. There you go. Okay,
Okay,
that's good. That's good. That's
and
good.
and and and
That's the thing. That's good.
you're right. The thing is, again, it can't be Ottawa, but it's like at the end of the day, we just have to. At the end of the day, like in my perspective, we just have to uh give our businesses the absolute best chance of success. And if that means moving to Silicon Valley, that's just what that means. And another thing I'll say is that one thing that because I was really trying to analyze this, and I was trying to be real about myself about, if I would have done better over the past few months, then would have that been a good yes, okay, if I would have done if my plan would have worked out perfectly in terms of like the online biz, like I would have moved there. However, the reality is I probably still would have just moved across
To SF or to LA?
to the US. But again, it's just a point of I would still go to whatever industry I'm pursuing, the best city. And um, there's one thing that I wrote down, which I think should be said, is that there's a big issue. There is genuinely a big issue with moving to a city where you have no reason to know anybody. Because as in like when you move somewhere to work, because the other thought experiment is I could actually get an internship in LA. Frankly, I could have just been a full-time iOS engineer by now if that's what I would have done the whole time. And if my pure goal was to just live in a specific city, that's what I would have done. However, clearly that wasn't my pure goal. However, I still could just get a basic internship there, or if I wanted to work in the music industry, I could get like a music industry internship there this summer, and then just use all the money to pay for the expenses. I don't want to do that. I want to focus on, you know, on building up a business. So
Mhm.
again, but again, when you go to work somewhere, when you move from a city to work there, you have people there right away. There is something to be said for it is very important to have people who like need to have a relationship with you right away. Genuinely, if I went there not wanting to work in any sort of entertainment industry, like what the fuck, like what? And the thing is, there needs to be some people to be able to like cling on to, because it's like, what if I
So
don't know,
there's
like
no
I get into a
propensity
fucking
once you
bus
go there,
accident or
especially
whatever,
if you're exactly.
right?
There's no propensity to go to these
You
places.
need
You
some
have to.
propensity from the get go, right? Which is why when you move somewhere for industry, the same way that if you move there to work, you will right away have people who care about, who have an incentive in your well being. Like for example, if you move somewhere to get, like I don't know, like let's say you go to Y Combinator for example, right?
Mm.
So we have to go somewhere. So look, for me, it just makes sense to go south. Um, but it's like realistically, I think we're gonna go to Silicon Valley, because that
Yeah,
is realistically the best place for our businesses to succeed.
but the thing is, it's the same thing though. It still applies where we have to have a reason to go there. Like I actually don't see this summer we moving there. Like obviously not. Like
I'm
there's
not going there
we but
because I'm still milking posters in
and
Ontario.
we still have to actually have like some grounds to even go there, right?
That's
I
right.
I still believe that if we the reason why I asked you the question is like when I asked you the question, is there like can you even take advantage of it or is there no advantage? The reason I say that is because if you need to take advantage but you can't, it's because it's an error on your part. It's a skill issue. It's because you haven't actually taken advantage of your own circumstances to truly encapsulate it. You're not in the best position to do so. And that's a distinction we
Uh-huh.
make. For my case, I actually can't take advantage of Silicon Valley to the best of my ability because I have no leverage, and I have no connections. I have no reason to be there, frankly, right now.
Right.
And to your point, where it's like we need people there. I mean, you only go for a place for the people anyway. So if we were to go there, it would have to be because we actually have like business incentives to go there, and not even in the sense
Exactly.
of like, oh, maybe there's more business incentives. It has to be someone is telling us, come to Silicon Valley. We're
Right.
working with you. That's the only reason we could go. So,
So
and it would be the same thing anywhere else.
it is up in the air. And the thing is, so this is why, like, for me, back to my thinking is like, I genuinely, to be genuine with you, I really wanted to just stay in Kitchener.
The whole
Weird
time.
as Yeah, as weird as that sounds, but
Do you have a lease, bro?
no, I don't. I can't afford it. But if I could, I would just stay here.
Oh,
And weirdly enough, like it's just I don't know, like but again, like I just spawned here and here I am, right? We want to get out of Ottawa, of course, but we just happen to spawn there, and we need some sort of incentive to go
I was
somewhere
thinking
else,
Toronto. I was thinking Montreal.
right? We I don't want to go. I don't want to go any more north than we already are, so I'm not going to Montreal. Um, uh,
Then you already are.
oh, well,
I'm already as
Ottawa,
far north as you, bro. They're like the
Montreal is
same.
colder. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Um,
you're right. It gets
so
more wet.
it's. I mean, I don't know. Where do you want to go?
Toronto. I don't know. For me, I actually wanted to like what I was thinking of is that where we would need to go is that it should be like it should without effort provide us everything that we need. As in like whatever experience we actually require, whatever
Mm,
venues we have, the culture not only, but also the like just the pure amenities, and the essentially like the essence of the city has to be able to provide exactly what we require for the time being. And I think Toronto is actually a good example of that because it's lucrative in its entertainment. There is quite good real estate there. It's a big city, and um, it's also like good for us because we're Canadian and we can still like live in the short term there. Um, and I think Montreal is actually worse for that because like its entertainment is not necessarily aligned to what we're doing. But yeah, I was thinking like Montreal. I mean, Toronto would be really good. Like near there because um, I just want to be in a big city pretty much. Like I saw Toronto and I really loved the city, but also like whatever like Dubai, but that's like way off. Um, but I don't know, man.
yeah,
I was just thinking of
I
like
I do see
I was
the
thinking of like
things to
having
do.
freedom.
Sorry.
I was thinking of having freedom for us in our short
I mean,
term.
in some
Anyways, I
sense,
think we should try.
Austin feels like the best medium. Austin, Texas is generally probably like the best. It's got it all in this moment in time. But again, the number one spot for for companies to succeed is without a doubt in Silicon Valley. So for me, it's between those two places. And if at the end of the day, I value, hey, John, you're muted. John, you're muted. I cannot hear you. That's great. I cannot hear you. Oh my god. Yeah, hold on. Hey, bro. Yeah, that is now. Yeah. Um. Bro, I was saying, I was saying, Austin is a good medium. Austin, Texas. It's sort of got everything, right? But again, Silicon Valley is the number one place for tech companies to succeed without a doubt. What does that mean? But why though? This is a typical case of you want something to happen before you do something that would make it happen. Be close to your competition. How? No. You don't see them you don't see them in person on a Friday night. Sure they do. Sure they do. They mingle. They go to the same parties. What does that mean have to? You want them to know motive. Yo, bro, I don't agree with your mindset. Again, like I really think that you we do things right away, whether we're ready for them or not, and then swim.
Why is that?
Why is that? No, I'm talking about algo needs to be in Silicon Valley. Motive needs to be in LA. It's not about that. It's about giving it the best chance of success. Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's right. Well, inadvertently, but well, okay, look, if you don't want why? You will make it faster if you move there. Why do you care about your image when you go there so much? It's just business. I don't know what the difference is, but it you and I know that we need to be in the same house and not on a FaceTime call every. So again, I'm just talking about giving companies the absolute best chance to succeed. Obviously, you have been from the start very very confident in algo despite competition, or confident in algo's business model not really depending all so much on competition and all that. So I don't know, but it's like where I don't know. Well, then it's like where do you want to build your company? But then it's just a matter of where do you want to live? Toronto? Why? Why? Bro, that's so backwards. You once your company is Because once your company is big, you have leverage. People will come to you. They'll come to work for you. The VCs will come to you. Like once you have a big company. But to start, like where is Toronto really the best place? Does it really not matter where you build it? Fair enough. That's true. Um, okay, so the point is that by the time that we have enough money to move there, move wherever, they must know about it. But that's like, that's a given. As in, like if you have enough money to move there, like comfortably, then of course they already know about it because it'll be on a successful arc. Did you apply to Y Combinator? Oh no, you're right. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so I agree. There's really nothing right now. But look, the thing is, it's gonna be cold soon. You want a reason to move. It's weird right now because for me, it's weird as fuck when it is turning warm out. Like I walk here without a coat, and it's like, fuck. Like that's the pressure. Because I remember, because I was. It feels like it was summer not that fucking long ago, bro. Like it actually feels like it was hella warm not that long ago for me. When it's happening again now, and I'm like, damn, like I'm not ready. So the thing is, soon enough, it's gonna be really fucking cold again, like really cold, in Toronto as well. Soon enough, Toronto's gonna be ugly as fuck. So it's like maybe by that time you'll have a reason to move south. Okay, that would be cool. But again, the winter will come again. So if you need a reason to move, which I also need a reason to move other than to escape the cold weather, it better be that by the time that it's cold next time, by the next winter, you have you know you have somebody calling you saying, "Hey, I want to invest 10 million. Please come meet me here." And then maybe during that meeting where they flew you out, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, so are you going to move your office here?" And you'll be like, "I don't know." And then they'll be like, "Oh, well, you probably should." And you'll be like, "I don't know. What's the deal here?" And they'll be like, "Oh, okay. Well, you can come and lease this space. We own this building." I don't know. The, and 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 he never came back home. This is what I wanted to say earlier. It's like COVID. It's like when COVID first happened and we left school for 2 weeks supposedly, right? That's like all the employees who got fired, who got laid off recently, right? They got laid off because of macroeconomic troubles. As they at the time, that's what they knew. They'll be rehired in a few years. That was the last time they ever saw their jobs, right? So same thing. You'll go there for a quick meeting You'll go there for, on a Wednesday back by Thursday for a quick meeting, and you come back on Thursday and they say, oh, they want to meet you again on Saturday, and you never came back. Next time the next time you came back, you bought the fat mansion on the canal. That's right. Sunset Boulevard. Somerset Boulevard? I don't know. Anyways, we'll rename the street. We'll rename the street. Yeah, it'll be Motor Street. It'll be Motor Street. Okay, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, mode. Oh my God. Say less. It'll be, bro. The all of the street signs will be illegal because they'll be done in GT Americana, extended bold. We should just buy every font imaginable and then sue every single company who ever used words. No, you can't own every font. You No, that's not how that works. Um, Bro, there's anyways. I'm leaving. This is literally a public recording, which will be used against you in court. So no, you cannot do that. Oh shit, that's true. All right, love you, bro. See ya.